Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Laura, and this is your flash briefing for the week of February 10th. City Council will meet for regular session Tuesday night, 6 in Council Chambers and City Hall. Meetings are open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Take Time to Be Kind Week is February 10th through the 15th, and it is 1 week devoted to random and purposeful acts of kindness throughout the Lee Summit community. Community members, students, and businesses are encouraged to participate. The Human Relations Commission will host 2 activities in the City Hall lobby throughout the week. The public is asked to share their acts of kindness on social media using hashtag LSKindness. Learn more at lskindness.net. Some road news. Northwest Commerce Drive between Northwest Main Street and Northeast Tudor Road will close on February 10th and will remain closed through early May for development-related construction. The area on Southwest 2nd Street between Southwest Noel and Southwest Market Street closed for manhole repair. It has been extended until February 17th. For more information, visit cityofls.net. And a reminder, city facilities will be closed Monday, February 17th for President's Day. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour. This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Also, for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook. Just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station. And the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better. And that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we had doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bring your stuff back to your locker to go home.
All right, welcome everyone. Would you please rise for the invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, we seek your guidance and wisdom in the decisions before us. The choices we face are not easy, and the weight of responsibility is great. Grant us clarity of thought, patience in discussion, and courage to choose what is right, not just what is easy. May we listen with open hearts, speak with integrity, and act with justice, always mindful of those we serve. Help us find unity in our shared purpose, even when we disagree. And may our choices reflect wisdom, compassion, and the greater good. Amen.
Did everybody's computers restart? All right. Welcome everyone again. I'm calling to order the City of Lee Summit regular session number 28. Could I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Rader.
Here.
Councilmember Pryor.
Here.
Councilmember Lovell.
Here.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Councilmember Shields.
Here.
Councilmember Hodges.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Here.
Mayor Baird.
Here. All right, thank you. First thing on the agenda is I'm going to have to restart.
Mine.
Everybody's going to have to restart, so we're going to have to do some roll call votes. So I'm going to everybody go ahead and hit the restart now so that you can get this over with, because I don't know a way to bypass this. Okay, so we're going to have to do roll call votes for the first couple of ones. And then, Mr. Dunning, if we can get IT to, like, I don't know, we got to be able to have an option to be able to say restart later tonight, or, you know, something along those lines, so it doesn't do this. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Could I get a voice motion? Oh, Councilmember Hodges has motioned to adopt the agenda. Councilmember Pryor has seconded it. Discussion? Okay, I'm going to do a call for the vote and see who chimes in. Go ahead.
I'm here.
Doesn't tell me, so no. So we're going to do roll call votes.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell.
Aye.
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. All right, second item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Shields.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges. Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. All right. Are you guys sure you want to be council members? I mean, it gets a little hectic up here like this. Let's see here. Next is the council roundtable. Items of general interest, things going on in your community. You'll have to get my attention. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say I attended the Lee Summit Chamber of Commerce annual gala. It was Derby themed. We had a nice contingent of council members as well as the mayor and mayor pro tem were all in attendance, and it was a great event. I hear they even had a real racehorse that came in, although somehow I was away from my table and I missed that. I think I was the only one there that missed that.
Best part of the night.
That's what I hear. Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. So not necessarily my district. Actually, I believe it is Councilmember Rader and Councilmember Lopez's district. But we have several new restaurants in Lee Summit. 30 Hop is now officially, oh, no? Is it? But it's right next to Bentry, so I thought that was. Okay, well, whoever's district it is, 30 Hop's now officially open, and Magic Noodle has had their soft opening, but I've tried it, and it's really good. So, and Chicken Salad Chick, I don't know if I've ever mentioned that one, but a lot of new restaurants right there in that same area. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Other council roundtable? Okay, we have Mr. Head has someone he would like to introduce us to. Mr. Head?
Mayor, I'd like to introduce Will Hendrickson. Will is our intern for the next few months. He's going to be with us till about the 1st of May. He is a 3L at UMKC, and so he's kind of finishing up the home stretch of law school. He still has to study for the bar, though. And I want to let him introduce a little bit. He might know somebody that you all know.
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak tonight and letting me introduce myself. My name is Will Hendrickson, as I said. Just to get it out of the way, I am the nephew of former council member Phyllis Edson, and she helped kind of put me in contact with this internship. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I'm interested in municipal law generally. I just spent last summer and the fall working with the Mid-America Regional Council and their housing division, and previously I had done some work with a tenants' rights firm in Kansas City defending tenants in eviction court. So the local government process is incredibly interesting to me, and the functions of a city government and how each of you impacts your constituents is everything I want to learn about in the next few months. So I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for letting me introduce myself.
Yep. Thank you.
Mayor, I can't believe it. I'm disappointed. You didn't ask him.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so distracted. My computer's still, undoing. So, Will, do you like movies and such?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to ask because my 17-year-old nephew doesn't even hardly watch movies or whatever. But so I usually put people on the spot and ask them what the greatest Christmas movie of all time is.
The greatest or my favorite?
Should be the same. He's a lawyer.
He is a lawyer. Well done. Well done. I know how this is going to go from here on out. What is the greatest movie?
In my opinion, I would have to say it's something like either It's a Wonderful Life or the Charlie Brown Christmas special.
Oh, that's nice.
Very near and dear to my heart. So those would be one of my
Good.
two answers.
What's your favorite?
Probably either one of those.
Oh,
I also have an affection for the classic 1960s Grinch special.
Will, you were just born older. You were born older. That's from the movie. So. Well, thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Right. Let's see. Yeah, is there a way to reset, Trisha Fowler-Arcuri, can you reset our screens? Because we're all stuck on a vote. So I'll let you work on that. I don't need it right now. We might have to go out and come back on it. So we're just having all kinds of technical difficulties tonight. But next on the agenda is the candidate forum. We have got a nice crowd tonight. That's really nice to see. So I do welcome you. I did have a great council work on this process with staff. And I just wanted to say thank you to the council, especially I believe, Rules Committee did most of this, along with our attorneys and staff. So, we're going to conduct the forum with questions for 2 District 4 candidates that have applied for an open council seat that we have in District 4, which is the east side of our community. Given the next election for City Council is not until April of 2026, the council has the task of appointing a qualified citizen to fill the seat until that municipal election per the city charter. So we've got 4, just for everybody's knowledge, we have 4 districts in Lee Summit with 2 council members representing each district. And with over 106,000 citizens in Lee Summit, each district represents over 26,000 people. Council members serve for 4 years. However, the next District 4 election in April 2026 will not only have the 4-year council seat that Councilmember Hodges, to my right, currently holds that'll go on the ballot, but also the vacant council seat that we're about to appoint will also go on the ballot. So that they will then fulfill the remaining 2 years that will be left on that term. So this appointment will fill District 4's vacant seat until April of 26, so a little over a year. We are following this process in accordance with the charter provisions because it's the best way to get the election process back into the voters' hands to decide in the same way that each of the current elected officials in front of you tonight, you see tonight were selected. So we're fortunate to have an engaged community and have 2 candidates that have applied for this vacant seat. They've submitted applications with answers to initial questions for the council's review, and these are online in the agenda packets. Tonight, we will ask the 2 candidates to make opening statements, and then we will ask a list of prepared questions the council members will ask, and we've divided it amongst the different council members to ask the questions. I have asked council members to only ask follow-up questions that seek clarification and not make up their own questions that could be considered leading someone on, a candidate to a conclusion or whatever. After the prepared questions, we will ask candidates to make closing statements. The City Council approved a process on January 14th that includes a public comment portion for the meeting for the citizens to voice their support for the candidates they want to advocate for. We did get quite a few emails, that's for sure. The approved process, and this is, I need everybody to kind of tune in on this part. The approved process allows up to 5 speakers in support of a candidate. Groups in support of a candidate may need to determine who among them will speak if there are more than 5. A group may be asked to consolidate then to determine who will be the spokesperson to help allocate the maximum 5 minutes that will be allowed, or 5 different speakers. Council will take a short recess before the public comment section to allow time for a group or speakers to determine who will speak in what order. I ask that the council not leave the dais during that brief recess, so we're going to go through the questions. We'll do the opening and closed statements. But when we take a recess, it's just for the public speakers to organize. So please stay at the dais so we can quickly bring the meeting back to order and proceed. The public comment portion during this presentation will be treated just as we do for public hearings. So comments need to be concerning the candidates and selection. Public comments regarding other issues, such as the operations of the city or other agenda items, will be held after the presentation. So there are 2 different public comments portions of the meeting for different purposes. And if you want to speak you don't have to sign in to speak during the candidate forum, but public comments about city operations, you would need to sign in with our city clerk to get on that portion of the meeting. Council will then openly discuss the candidates and seek a consensus. A motion will need to be made with a second, followed by more discussion before calling for the vote. We do want to get to know the candidates better and have a list of questions we would like to get through, so we'll limit the time candidates respond to 2 minutes for the opening statements and closing statement, and 1 minute for the questions from council members. The process approved on January 14th only allowed a maximum for 6 questions. However, I think we did that because we were concerned that we would have a handful or more of candidates, and we wanted to be efficient. So given that there's 2 candidates and we have a little more time, I would like to ask the council to modify the process by allowing up to 12 questions so that we can better get to know the candidates before us. Would a council member please consider making this motion of amending the process to allow for 12 questions? I open it up. Councilmember Shields?
I would move to amend the process to allow for up to 12 questions. I also have a question, but I can hold that.
You bet. I have a motion. I have a second. Yes, Councilmember Shields. Discussion.
When it does come time for the voting process, I think we had not talked about requiring a second. It was just going to be candidates would be nominated by a council member, and then we would do a vote of each person to vote for their chosen candidate. So are we changing that to require a motion and a second? And should we be amending that as well?
Yeah, we were worried that we would have more than 2 candidates and that we would need to do some kind of ranked choice type of situation. I think tonight's going to be easier since there's only 2 candidates, so can we, does it matter?
I'm open to either process. I just wanted to make sure, do we need to include that amendment as well, since that wasn't how we'd originally structured? Okay.
Mr. Head? Oh, you don't have a microphone tonight, huh?
Mayor, typically through a process of nomination that is before a body like the city council, a second is not required. Normally, a nomination is simply made, the name is then placed in nomination, and then you can proceed to a vote once the nominations are concluded. Is typically the way it works. You are free, however, to do it whichever way you like to do, but that is typically under the old Roberts Rules system. That is typically the way that would work.
Well, I learned something tonight. All right, I don't need a second.
Always learning.
All right. Very good. All right. We're still, right now we have a motion on the floor and a second to amend the process to allow 12 questions. Any more discussion on that topic? Seeing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Shields?
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle?
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor?
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges?
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell?
Aye.
Councilmember Rader?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Aye.
Mayor Baird?
Aye. All right, that motion carries. So we'll have the 12 questions. Understanding this process is conducted in a public setting and in a public meeting, we do expect everyone to conduct themselves in a professional manner, and my role as chair will be to ensure a proper decorum is maintained throughout the process. We have with us today 2 applicants, Donnie Funk and Yana Cravens. Did I say your last name correctly? All right, good. We will have Mr. Funk go first with opening statements. Then we will rotate who goes first with the council questions. Would you help me with that?
Sure.
Make sure I don't mess that up. Ms. Cravens will go first for the closing statement. And also, I want to let the candidates know, we do have these questions for you, and we'll take turns, but and for council, Mr. Dunning also is going to put them on the board, so on the overhead. So you guys can read the question too. It might be a little easier for a couple of them. With that said, I'm going to ask you all to close out of your vote-cast and restart your computer so we can try to get back in. And can you do the same so that we, or if you have the. Sign out, then sign in. I don't know for sure. IT, do we need to just restart the whole computer because we're not getting. Okay, everybody needs to restart, and we'll start this over. So go, before we get this started, so that we're not distracted during the meeting, I want these candidates to have our full attention. So, still doesn't work?
No, she's still updating it.
Okay. All right. If we need more time later, we'll just, yes, please, would you hand those out? If we need more time later, we will have we'll just do everything by roll call, and I'll just, won't look at the computer anymore. So, thank you. Oh, you did the whole front and back thing. They're so efficient. Yes. Okay. So, candidates, I think you saw Mr. Dunning and I, he's city manager. We put the 2 chairs out there so that you wouldn't feel like you were back in the crowd and let you come forward. So could I have our 2 candidates come forward, Donnie Funk and Yana Cravens? How are you all? both brought people to support you. That's wonderful. So, Mr. Funk, are you ready to do your opening statement? All right. I think, yeah, I know, I'm running the meeting. I can't move. Mr. Dunning, move Yana over to this side. Somebody's not going to be able to see over here, just so you know. They're going to stand, but I haven't got that far yet. So when you come speak, make sure you come to the X, please, if you would. She's okay sitting there, I think. Is that okay, Councilmember Pryor? If she sits there, but she's going to come stand? Yeah. Yeah. There we go. All right, Mr. Funk, please. Let's
Thank
have
you,
your
Mayor
opening
and
statement.
Council.
2 minutes.
I moved to Lee Summit in 1987 when my parents built the house in the brand-new Deerbrook subdivision, which was brand new in 1987. I've been very blessed. My wife and I have raised 2 kids here, 2 boys here in Lee Summit, and I also own a business here in Lee Summit. Over the years, I've watched the community grow and always wanted to be involved in the city, and I followed the leadership of Lee Summit program. Got on the Planning Commission a little over 10 years ago and been the chair of the Planning Commission for the last 4 years. Having that opportunity of the Planning Commission, I've served as liaisons to the Historic Preservation Committee, which is now the Cultural Arts Committee, also the CEDC, and had a lot of great experience over the time with that.
Thank you. Ms. Cravens?
Good evening, Mayor Baird, council members, and fellow residents. My name is Yana Cravens, and I'm honored to speak before you this evening. For the past 19 years, I proudly called Lee Summit home, where my husband, Daylon, and I have raised our 2 daughters, Cameron and Ty. As the second oldest of 10 siblings, I've learned early the value of responsibility, perseverance, and service, values that continues to guide me today. Growing up in a struggling neighborhood in Kansas City, I saw firsthand how local government decisions shape the community's safety, accessibility, and economic opportunities. Those fueled my passion for civic engagement and problem solving. I believe that strong communities are built through collaboration, and I am committed to being a voice for the residents of Lee Summit, ensuring that our city continues to grow in a way that benefits us all. Lee is thriving. But to maintain high quality of life, we must address key issues with intentions and foresight. We need to balance housing mix that allows for responsible growth while preserving the character of our neighborhoods. We must ensure public safety by providing our first responders with the resources they need, while also trust between enforcement and community. As our city grows, we need improved transportation options that connect residents to jobs, healthcare, and essential services, especially for seniors, people with disabilities, and those without reliable personal transportation. And we must commit to responsible budgeting that prioritizes both immediate needs and long-term sustainability. Leadership is about listening, collaboration, and accountability. Over 22 years in sales, I bring strong communication skills, a commitment to problem solving, and the ability to build consistency. I have the willingness, skills, and determination needed to make informed strategic already. I will work tirelessly to ensure that all voices in our communities are heard and valued. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. I think we need to either swap her microphone out, or they're going to have to use the same one, Mr. Dunning. Yep. Yeah, you could, or they could come to the centerpiece, but. You want them to share?
I think these are the best 2. Those other ones that we have are the ones we use down here, and sometimes they don't pick up very good.
Okay. All right, we'll share. All right, very good. All right, thank you both for those opening statements. I'm going to turn it over to a council member. We'll have, we'll rotate, I said. So, Ms. Cravens, you'll answer first on the first question. So, Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor.
What are the ways that you would encourage the citizens in Lee Summit to serve their community and to get involved with opportunities that the city provides? And what civic organizations have you been involved with in the city of Lee Summit?
Okay, so the first part, how I encourage citizens to get involved. First, I need to build relationships with the citizens. So continued relationship building is key to service. So I have to, gain the trust. I have to also know how to articulate what the visions for the city is with the citizens, and to gain that buy-in. I also have to listen with intention and for understanding. So I would approach the situation by just being available. And what civic organizations have you been? So I will be honest, in Lee Summit in particular, I have not been involved in a lot of civic organizations. However, in my hometown of Kansas City, where I have given back to, I have a whole bunch of involvement that I'm sure I'll be able to speak to at a later time.
Okay. Thank you.
I think the answer to the first part of the question is educating our constituents on the opportunities that are here, different groups and organizations that are available through the city. The civic organizations I've been a part of different, obviously the Planning Commission and different things like that. I worked with American Builders and Contractors Association on workforce development, along with some other workforce developments that came from the Wyandotte County area but service the whole metro area as far as workforce development, workforce safety, not only in the construction industry, but warehousing and manufacturing industries over some safety issues.
All right. Thank you. Okay, next, Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you, Mayor. Name 3 upcoming initiatives, projects, or developments in Lee Summit that you are most excited about and why.
I think with one that is pretty obvious across the street here, the downtown market. That's an exciting thing for our farmers market. A lot of fun festivals are going to be able to be held there. Discovery Park is great for the city. I think we're going to see some new hotels come online over on that part of town. They're also got quite a bit of office space going in over there as well. And I think you could look at the Oldham Village project that recently came through City Council. That was a blighted area, kind of an eyesore coming into our community. And a very challenging project site over there that I think those 3 projects are pretty awesome for the city.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that those 3 will be my top ones as well. I think that I am, Discovery Park is a exciting development that I am looking forward to, a $1 billion development that is going to be mixed with all type of entertainment, accommodations, and just a big feel for the city. I think the size alone is what's going to catapult Lee Summit to a whole nother level. I'm also excited for the farmers market down here in downtown Lee Summit. I think that that is going to be an excellent place to connect the community and also provide a place to build the culture within the community, and as well as the Oldham Village. I'm excited about the big golf entertainment that's going to be there. I think that's something different and unique to the city. And then just even the talks about the different housing mixes over in that area. So excited to see how that area is going to grow as well.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Lovell.
What are 1 or 2 things the city of Lee Summit is doing well, and what are 1 or 2 things the city of Lee Summit could be doing better?
I think doing well. I think we are on track and doing very well with the development. I think that communicating what the comprehensive plan is being displayed very well. It is easy to comprehend and easy to access. I just wish more people knew that that was there. I think one of the things that we can do better is connecting people to these great resources through building our relationships in the community, making sure voices are heard, and that they know that there are resources available for them and that will impact all people in Lee Summit.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think a couple of things the city is doing very well at is we've had several new apps come online, the Lee Summit Awareness. I think our communication with the public is getting better. I think we're doing really well at bringing in development and working with our current development group that we have. Several good developers here in town. I think some things we could get better at is looking at a little bit more economic growth and on the industrial side and creating some jobs and maybe looking at some workforce type housing projects in the community.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have Councilmember Hodges.
Council members serve as a voice for the residents in our districts. However, we also make decisions for the entire city on a weekly basis. What do you believe are the more pressing issues for the citizens in District 4? And what are the most pressing issues in the city of Lee Summit as a whole?
I think in District 4, it's about educating the folks on areas in District 4 that could be developed, potential development sites of what could happen. Keeping them aware of infrastructure repairs, communicating with those folks. You hear a lot from citizens in District 4 about apartments and different things like that, and I think it's just educating them on the purpose and the need, what the housing stock is for apartments and that type of thing. The other part of your question, the most pressing things for the city, I think, are a little bit more economic growth as far as I repeated in my last question, some industrial growth, bringing some more jobs to the community.
Thank you.
I think District 4, because it's very neighborhood heavy, I think that ensuring the community that the neighborhood culture won't be impacted by the expansive growth, and also just building that connection with our district with some of the most or the more developed areas, and just ensuring that our neighborhoods are also feel a part of what's going on around and across the city. And then also knowing that development opportunities are available in our neighborhoods as well. Also keeping up on infrastructure. I know previous Councilman DeMauro has done a lot of work with just the infrastructure, sidewalk gaps, putting in new street lights. So those issues will still be priorities, as well as connectivity to the rest of the city development.
Thank you. All right, next question is from Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Lee Summit has a strategic plan adopted by the council in 2020 as part of its vision and planning for the future. The strategic plan addresses economic development, infrastructure, cultural and recreational amenities, community health and well-being, collaborative relations with education partners, strong neighborhoods, and community engagement. What objectives and values in the strategic plan are you most passionate about?
People, and also attract others who would want to serve in this public safety arena. I think that anytime when a city is growing, we have to keep that at the forefront. The safety and the health of the organization, especially a community like Lee Summit, who is very low on crime and not used to the influx that will be coming through. So just ensuring that our public safety providers are well taken care of and put in positions to actually lead, grow, and add value to Lee Summit as we develop.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think some passionate areas for myself fall in the economic development portion of it, bringing and creating some jobs, additional jobs here in Lee Summit, focusing on our infrastructure. We have a lot of undeveloped land going to come online that could use some infrastructure work. I think the past, between the Planning Commission and the Council, we've done a great job of looking at some of those infrastructure issues with current developments going on in the city. And I truly, honestly think some economic development would help great in the city.
All right, thank you.
As a follow-up to the last question from our city's strategic plan.
Bad on that.
Well, it's also on the screen there, so hopefully
I didn't
that
want to turn away from
No,
you,
no, you're
like
good.
I was ignoring you.
Do you want me to read it again, Mayor?
The city's council role in strat planning, how do you see that?
Well, I think it's huge. I think it gives us a roadmap that we've laid out when developing the plan of some activity zones, some housing zones, some industrial zones. I think the plan was done. I was glad to be a part of that plan, and it was done to outline what we want to do, and I think it's the council's role to continue to follow that roadmap.
Thank you.
I think that one of the roles is to always keep our eye on the ball as to why we are here and who elected us to be here. I think that when we think long term, sometimes it's easy to get tunnel vision and get out of the day-to-day necessities. And I think it is going to be important that we keep the community involvement in place, and we just learn to walk and chew gum at the same time. So we also pay attention to current initiatives and impact, as well as the long-term involvement with our community as it pertains to the strategic plan.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez has the next question.
Thanks, Mayor. So we'll stick to the strategic plan kind of concept. So the city has strategic goals that revolve around economic development and maintaining a business environment. Those two are pretty key in our city. You can see it up there, but what strategies do you think we should prioritize to make sure that our growth continues with businesses and how we can attract new industries?
I think, yeah, that is a lot. I think that we make sure that we are building relationships with the developers who come into our city, who want our city business, and ensuring that we are both winning in the situation. I think that the managing of the different businesses that we invite into the city and their goals and vision for our city and knowing that is important. I think that as we attract new businesses to our city, we have to promote our city. We have to let these businesses know why we are on the cutting edge of technology, and we have a growth vision that is going to compete with other larger cities. So we have to make our city as attractive as we can to get the high quality businesses within our town. I think that one of the things that we can do to do that is focus on what we want our culture to look like, so we'll know what type of businesses we want to see added.
Thank you.
I think we have the opportunity to incentivize these businesses to bring in some high-paying jobs. We also have the ability to incentivize some businesses that are currently here for some growth and expansion by utilizing the incentive tools that we have to get some of the new development here, and maybe possibly look at some strategy of how we can incentivize the current businesses to grow and create additional jobs here in the community.
Thank you. And I'll stick to the same theme. So as a follow-up to that question, what strategies would you support with regard to balancing new economic growth, but also keeping in mind the quality of life for other parts of the community?
Well, I think we've developed through our strategic plan the areas that we've zoned for industrial, commercial, residential, and I think by incentivizing those businesses to come here, whether it be through TIF programs, CIDs, what would be appropriate for the different type of industry or, commercial business that would come to the city. I think utilizing our incentives is a great opportunity for the city.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that Lee Summit does well is supporting local business. I think local business is a backbone of our city. And I think that to help with this new economic growth, I think that we need to make it a priority to position our local businesses in a position where they can win with this influx coming in, whether that is training on different business acronyms, where they can get resources to help adjust to a growing population. I think that we also let them know what all the different incentives are, and we explore incentives, state incentives, for example. There are incentives within the state of Missouri that help local businesses grow, but I think that providing the necessary information and resources to what's already at home would really strengthen that environment that we all have come to love. And then also making it the incentives attractive to outside businesses coming in as well.
Okay, thank you.
Tricky.
Okay. Councilmember Pryor has the next question.
Thank you, Mayor. Public safety has been a city council priority for many years now. Do you support this as a top priority, and in what ways do you see that we could enhance public safety?
Public safety definitely is a top priority, as I spoke to earlier. As any city grows, that public safety infrastructure has to be in place, and we have to start now. I think that putting resources behind public safety now and building that in real time, I think that we definitely have a very strong, positive financial situation here, and I think I know last year we had some excess in a surplus in our budget. So to get started on that, because it's going to be essential to be proactive versus reactive. We're new at this growth here in this city, so we are going to have to prioritize our public safety infrastructure, and also just making sure that we have the data to support where we need these facilities to be, and the personnel to support the growth, even the growth that comes with big events that come to Kansas City that we want to see visitors coming here for as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we prioritize them, At the top of our list, I think we do have, we're coming into a year with the firefighters union. I think their contracts coming around. I think we have to look at the equipment. We have top-notch accredited programs in both our police and fire, and we have to continue to support them in any way we can to continue to maintain the level of accreditations that we have, also to obtain and retain new employees as we grow as a city.
All right. Thank you. Next question comes from Councilmember Lovell.
If you had to make a decision on an ordinance or development that a friend or neighbor wanted you to vote against, how would you handle that situation?
Well, I think the ordinance or whatever you're voting against, I mean, the job of all you members sitting up there, including the mayor, all decisions sometimes can be extremely tough. You have to do what's best for the city. That's what you're elected to do. You're there to represent your city, and you have to make that decision, not from your heart, not from your friend, but what's best for the city.
Thank you.
I think that our service is to the city and our community, so that comes first. I also think that voting towards the goal, the vision, the strategic plan of the city is always your answer to any question or reasoning as to why your vote is the way it is, because we always have to stay in alignment what we set out to achieve. And so no one person should ever be able to influence a decision that goes against what the strategic plan for the city is and the best interest of all all of our residents.
Very good, thank you.
Keep doing that. Want to sit down.
Okay, next question comes from Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you. With over 4,100 acres of suburban land reserve, or PRI, some of us call it, property to be developed over the next 10 to 15 years, are you comfortable with the city's comprehensive plan as a guide for long-term vision of the community, or do you have a different idea or ideas for future development of the city? Please explain.
Well, I think that is great that we have this land at our resource. That is a lot of land that we can develop, and some of it is in blighted areas that we definitely can use to our advantage to grow. So yes, so for our long-term vision, we have a lot of bullet points that we want to achieve within the next 25 to 35 years. And any piece of land or areas that we can develop to make a strong community, I think that will always be what we should be seeking to do. So I hope I answered that question right. It's a lot of words there, but I think what I'm trying to say is that the land that we do have coming from the PRI, I think we have more than enough things to utilize it with.
Thank you.
I think the comprehensive plan was put together by a lot of members here tonight, along with myself, many of the commissioners that are here, and there was an extremely large amount of public input that went into this comprehensive plan, and I think it's the roadmap that we follow to develop this 4,500 acres. I don't see why we would vary from that plan. I think sometimes we have to make a few little amendments based on fitting a piece of development into a certain area or some infrastructure development or anything like that. But I think the long and the short is we have a comprehensive plan. It has a lot of public input in it, and that's what we need to follow.
All right, thank you. Okay, next question is from Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. As with any board, the council members are responsible for the governance, which includes creating laws and ordinances, being good fiduciary stewards of taxpayer dollars, and providing accountability. Why do you feel you would be a good city council member with regard to these responsibilities?
I think having the opportunity over the last 10 years of seeing how the city functions and how it works, and knowing that everyone is an elected official and you've been chosen by a group of your peers, there's no rhyme or reason why we shouldn't be good stewards to our constituents over taxpayer dollars. They have chosen us as leaders. That's what they want from us. And I think it's really a no-brainer. I feel like I'm very confident in my experience and my knowledge and to know how to handle these types of situations.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll speak up. I think that our responsibility, first and foremost, is to advocate and be of service to the community. I think that the taxpayers' dollars is a responsibility that we are charged with to put in good use. I think that a good council member would be transparent in ensuring that the public understands and know where those dollars are going, and also taking their input in consideration when we determine how we want to spend those dollars. So I think that just having that transparency and also communicating with the residents so that they are always aware how their money is being spent and that it is in service to the greater good of the city and our next generations coming behind us.
All right, thank you. All right, at this point, those are the 12 questions. There are actually 10 questions with a couple of follow-ups. So we'll go to closing comments. And Ms. Cravens, you are up.
All right. Well, Mayor and members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to be considered for the District 4 City Council seat. I am deeply committed to the service of Lee Summit residents and ensuring our community continues to thrive. As a council member, I will prioritize the needs of District 4 while supporting the city's broader initiatives, including infrastructure improvements, public safety, and community development. I recognize the city's focus on maintaining roads, enhancing transportation, and keeping our spaces clean, and I am eager to contribute to these efforts. I believe strong infrastructure and city services are the foundation of a growing, vibrant community. I also want to acknowledge the work of former council member Fred DeMauro. His dedication to the improving infrastructure and advocating for public safety has made a lasting impact. If appointed, I will continue that legacy while bringing fresh ideas and strong commitment to community engagement. I will work to ensure that all residents feel heard and that city policies reflect the diverse needs of our growing community. Lee Summit is a city with a rich history and strong traditions. We must be intentional about preserving the best of our past while creating an accommodating future for our residents. This means protecting our historic districts, developing thoughtful, attainable housing options, maintaining the charm that makes our community unique, and ensuring that new development enhances rather than replace our city's character. We must also embrace forward-thinking policies that address evolving needs, such as transportation and economic opportunities for all. Growth should be smart, balanced, and reflective of the values that have made Lee Summit such a desirable place to live. City government, like all government, works best when it listens to its residents. I am committed to being accessible, transparent, and proactive in addressing the concerns of District 4. I will advocate for smart, responsible growth that balances development and preserving our city's history and traditions. I will work hard to ensure that every voice is heard and that our district remains a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. But I got to read this. Thank you guys for the time. I know many of my colleagues wrote a letter of my dedication and my efforts that I've put forth to the city. I've spent the last few weeks, actually since December when the seat came open, aligning my business with some great employees that I have to allow me to dedicate the time and the efforts needed to fill this role. And I want to thank everyone again for our time tonight, and I look for your support this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you, candidates. We are going to proceed to the public comment portion of the meeting. I mentioned earlier that we might recess briefly to allow groups to organize. So to help facilitate, I thought I would just ask, like, who would like to speak? We'll start with Ms. Cravens. On behalf of Ms. Cravens, who would like to speak tonight? You guys can find each other and make sure that there's not more than 5. See who wants to speak first, maybe. You can, sometimes it's nice to, if you coordinate what you're going to talk about, so in what order you might want to talk about it. And then on behalf of Mr. Funk, okay, it looks like we have a few, so there's not more than 5 there. So you guys can determine what order you'd like to speak in. I'm going to take a couple minutes here. I'm going to write a couple notes because you guys, you busted through that. And you're both very well prepared, so thank you for that. We appreciate that. I'm going to write some notes, and we'll take just like a 3 or 4 minute recess here. Yeah, council members, if you need to run and take a break, let's make it a 5-minute break. 5-minute break.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple. Quick.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either a bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words, mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914, Armstrong.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
I'm like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network, who's close to you. If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as the co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband has...
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. You know, say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped me get to where I am today. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. We want to help, and that's what we love to do.
So I had a client, we got a call, she had some suicidal ideations, and she really felt that she had nobody. And you know, and getting to know her story and getting to know who comes around and sees you, well then we found a support person and they responded immediately and we made a plan. I called back and checked on her in an hour, and then I checked on her in 2 hours. We were able to get her into the additional services to where she talks to someone every week or more. I just took a person that really just thought they had nobody and nobody would show up for them, and show them you do. And you'll be amazed who is in your corner if you just simply say, I need a little help.
When the person called on the phone, she said that there was a dinosaur walking down her road. Of course, we had to go out and check that out. We get out there, and it was a big African tortoise, probably 60 pounds, walking down the road. When they walk, they really stand up tall, so I could see why she thought it was a dinosaur. I'm Rodney Wagner. I'm the manager of Lee Summit Animal Control. So as you can see, we get all sorts of animals here. You got some guinea pigs off to the side. All the windows up here are animals that are adoptable right now. Every one of these dogs is ready to go and ready for adoption. And the same thing with our cats over here. A lot of cool cats in here now, so this is our 3-acre lot we have out back. This is where we do all the walking of dogs, exercise. We also have a side yard off to the side over there, so we can let them run loose. They can run together, and then we have what's called play groups. Kind of like having a bunch of kids. Here's our vet room. We have a vet that comes out twice a week. This is our Sally Port where we bring the animals into. This is one of our animal control trucks, and we can hold up to 6 animals. We have a lift on the other side to put big animals in. We actually have temperature gauges in here and in the truck to tell us how hot it is. Once it gets to a certain temperature, we bring all the animals back here immediately. So this actually has traps in it, but we do a lot of wildlife trapping. I mean, a lot. So bats, potbelly pigs, horses, cows, emus, a lot of reptiles. We had a citizen one time that had over 200 reptiles in his basement. Caimans and alligators in here that are 4 or 5 feet long. You can't keep those. And people do, and they're surprised when they can't keep them. I'm like, really? You're surprised you can't have an alligator in your house?
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're still trying to get our computers figured out. They're going to reset the computer in the back. They have different computers back there, and one of them controls all of ours. We've been yelling at the city clerk all night, and it's not her computer. So we're bringing this meeting back to order, and we are ready for the public comment portion of the meeting. So let's see here. Each speaker will have 60 seconds, up to 5 speakers. So who would like to go first? Ms. Cravens or Mr. Funk? Where we were at last time? Whose turn is it to go first? What's that? Donnie gave the last statement, so he went last, I believe. So then we'll go with Mr. Funk, whoever is speaking on your behalf, your 3 people, who's going to go first? Please come forward. And please state your name for us.
Thank you, Mayor. Terry Trofton. As you know, I'm serving currently on the Planning Commission with Mr. Funk. Thank you. I've also sent my comments to you. Also, thank you, council members, Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor. I am enthusiastically supporting Mr. Funk for this position and council member. He I've worked alongside him for as long as I've been on the commission, which is about 6 years, and had the privilege of him being the chair for the last 4. He's a very dedicated, strong leader, committed to our community and the growth and well-being of it. He has played a critical role in development and land use that affects our city. As you know, we've been part of the planning for the strategic plan, and with you and at your service to do that as volunteers in the community. He's prioritized needs of residents and does a nice job of managing their control. So I urge you to support Mr. Funk as you move forward. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. My name is Dana Arth. I serve as vice chair on the Planning Commission, and I've known Donnie for several years. Since I've known him, he's talked about his desire to be a city council member. I've served alongside of him for the last 8 years, and during that time, I've watched his dedication and his knowledge grow immensely. When he became chair, he demonstrated a lot of leadership. He changed the way we do procedures in the meeting, where he ensures that all the questions that the public asks get answered. I've really liked working alongside of him with that. I also feel he understands his constituents that he would represent if he were nominated tonight. He went door to door when he campaigned, and so he did talk to a lot of people in that district, and so I think that understanding would make him very strong. In summary, I believe he would make an excellent city council member, and he would serve the community at a very high level, and he would hold himself very accountable to the goals and ideals of Lee Summit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark Kitchens, District 4 here in Lee Summit. As many of you know me, I've been on the Planning Commission with Chair Funk for about 8 years now. Some of you backed me to be up here tonight, and I told each one of you that if I wasn't the best man for the job, I would step aside. Some personal things happen in our lives, has some great opportunities. I'm no longer the best man. The best man sitting right behind me, and that's Donnie Funk. I've had the opportunity to see his leadership, and I would say anyone who mistakes meekness for weakness is making a huge mistake. He has something that adds to this council, honestly, brevity, which we can do on this council as well. But on top of that, knowledge of 11 years of planning and helping this city. I don't know of anyone better in this city, someone who's a businessman, who knows everyone in the community in my district, District 4, and is able to come up here and not only say statements, but say them quick and efficiently. I've seen his capability of leadership on the Planning Commission, and you guys know I'm an ambitious guy. Donnie's the one who's led that charge. As much energy as I have, he's the one that directs in the right place. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, very good. Then that would take us to Ms. Craven's speakers. Who would like to go first? All right, thank you.
Is this live? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Good. Good evening. How are you? My name is Erica Crenshaw, and my husband and I are fairly new residents to Lee Summit and the Kansas City community overall. And when I first met Yana, she spoke with great pride about Lee Summit. She raves about the cute and accessible downtown. She talked about the Stonehouse Winery. She talked about the concerts in Legacy Park, and also all the great fishing and hiking that takes place in the community. Her enthusiasm for this community was absolutely infectious. But I'm speaking to you today not because Yana is not only politically astute, but she is not necessarily a politician, but politically astute. She is also a businesswoman. She is a mother of 2 exceptional young ladies, and she is a loving mother. And that type of fresh perspective and unique talent for problem solving and also collaborating would add tremendous value to this council, and we would be the ultimate beneficiaries, the community would be. So I implore each of you to vote yes for Yana Cravens for council, City Council District 4. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Sean Kirkwood, and thank you to the mayor as well as your fine colleagues up here. I am here to advocate fully for Yana Cravens, and like the speaker before, we didn't match notes or anything, but I am a new resident, new homeowner here to Lee Summit, and sounds like Yana is quite the cheerleader because we are here partly because she advocated for Lee Summit. And my family and I, you know, so far we've been here since May. We love Lee Summit. We were attracted to certain things and certain qualities that I'm sure you all love as well. But in my next council person, no matter if it's, you know, no matter who you guys pick, I'm here to advocate for Yana, but they will be my council person. And so you guys do a lot of the strategy here. This is the work that you guys signed up for, but I believe the community building and the implementation of the strategy happens outside of these four walls. Yana is a businesswoman. She's a cheerleader for Lee Summit, and I think that that's something you're going to need as well too. Not only for the homeowners in District 4, but everybody who is who lives in these apartments here as well. She will be a great asset to the city council here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, and welcome to Lee Summit.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council persons. My name is Shalise Adamson, and I'm actually an 18-year resident of Lee Summit. But I do have the pleasure of coming to fully endorse Yana Cravens, who I've known for over the last 20 years in both professional and social settings. Yana is also highly educated. She holds a bachelor's degree from KU, which I've forgiven her for, which makes her an amazing person. She also is an MBA holder. She has worked in a corporate setting as well as being a business owner for over the last 20 years. She's passionate about her children. She's very family-oriented, and she will represent the people of Lee Summit very well. She's community-oriented and very committed to a number of different service organizations throughout the greater Kansas City area. She can help bring an inclusive feel to Lee Summit and make it feel more open to all populations. I think it's a great opportunity to bring in a new voice and a fresh perspective to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and fellow City Council members. My name is Megan Marshall, and as a current elected representative of this community, I personally understand the vital role of having strong, dedicated leadership that role plays at every level of government. That's why I am a strong supporter of Yana Cravens being appointed to District 4's vacancy. This evening, Ms. Cravens has shown not only her knowledge, but also her unwavering commitment to serving this community. She's called Lee Summit home for over 19 years and has actively contributed to its growth and success. From mentoring and tutoring young students to leading beautification efforts across the city, her dedication to making Lee Summit a better place is evident in everything that she does. The city is growing, and with that comes a responsibility to smart development, strong public safety, and most importantly, actively listening and engaging with the community, and make decisions that reflect the needs and voices of the people. Yana is the right addition to leading this effort alongside of you all. With Yana Cravens on City Council, residents can trust that the future of Lee Summit is in capable hands. Thank you.
All right, thank you. One more? Okay. You were the closer. It's a pretty good one to close right there. Okay, very good. I'd just like to thank our engaged citizens that have come to voice their support tonight. Thank you to our candidates for your willingness to serve our city. It does take initiative and a heart for public service to have made the application. And we as council know collectively and individually what it takes to prepare for a forum like this. So thank you for your time and effort. I would like to take this to the council and open this up for discussion. And I don't know if we can log in really quick, try?
We're back in now.
We are back in? Oh my goodness, my life is so much better. This is going to be much easier. Oh, I have to get on my other computer.
You can't log in from there.
Sorry. Councilmember Shields, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank our candidates and their supporters for coming out. There's a lot more exciting things you can do on a Tuesday night, so I really appreciate all of you being here and taking the time. Also, thank you to the mayor for helping put together these set of questions. I think it was a great set of questions that helped us learn more about both of these candidates, and I appreciated that it seemed like each council member got to ask a question that was really about an issue that was important to them. So
I had council members gave me the questions, and then I just massaged them to fit our city lingo. So
I think it was good. So I think we have two really great candidates here tonight. I think they bring some different skill sets to the table, and I think they would both be excellent council members. I think it's a decision we really can't go wrong. For me, I look at this and I think to myself, what gaps do we have on the dais? And I think about, what social networks could be a part of this process that maybe aren't right now. And so while I think that Mr. Funk brings a lot of really great experience, I do see a lot of that experience already here on the dais, that we have several members that have come from the Planning Commission and that bring that knowledge and background. And I would like to see someone that kind of brings a fresh set of eyes, because I know the longer you're in these rooms, the more we can get a little bit tunnel vision, and I think it'd just be good to have a fresh voice up on the dais and some different perspectives. So I'll be supporting Ms. Cravens, but again, I really think we have two great candidates, and I really appreciate them both putting themselves forward. I think we're a better city when we have more people engaged. And regardless of who is chosen tonight, I hope that the other person will stay engaged, because there's so much still to do in so many ways to serve the city. So thank you so much.
thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll try not to repeat what people are saying already, but it goes without saying, I think we have to thank both candidates that have applied for this position and all of your supporters that are here. Thank you guys for being here. This is not typical for us the whole time I've been on council, I've never had to be in this situation where we're choosing a council person. So this is kind of different for us also, but it's part of our charter, and it gives us that responsibility to fill a vacant opening. And it's a tough decision. It's a tough process for us, but we really do highly respect both of you and admire you for what you're doing. And after listening, I've known Mr. Funk for a few years. We served together on Planning Commission as well, but Ms. Cravens, I've never met you, but I'm super impressed. You're very articulate, intelligent. I think you have a lot of qualities that I think can be helpful on this kind of a body and in this public role. But also, before that, I want to thank the mayor and Councilmember Shields for putting this process together as well, because it took a lot of effort on their part, and then our council colleagues also for coming up with questions and being patient with this whole process. We wanted to get it done as soon as possible, and I think we're accomplishing that. With that being said, like I said, we've never participated in a process like this before, and it is a tough decision, because I think you're both very highly qualified. And I take a little different perspective, and not in a confrontational way with what Councilmember Shields just stated. I think I'm guilty of saying often that I think coming from the Planning Commission and having that experience and background is a good pedigree for becoming a council representative. I say that often, and I probably should not say that. I'm stating this publicly. But it's helpful, but there's other experiences and backgrounds that are very helpful as well, and the different perspectives. You don't have to come from the Planning Commission to be a council representative. However, in this case, I think given that again, this is an unexpected vacancy, I think the fact that this process of bringing in a new team member is a little different than when you run for a campaign. I see it as being a little different. I think the person that is going to be chosen tonight, in my opinion, needs to be someone that the learning curve has to be as small as possible. Because that role, that next person's hitting the ground running. There's a lot of stuff going on. And from my opinion, although you both are qualified, I think Mr. Funk possesses that experience that's needed to hit the ground running from day one. And his involvement in Lee Summit, I think, is critical. I've seen him in action the last 10, 12 years. But that's not to say that in the future, I think you yourself just come back to city council meetings, get engaged with Lee Summit committees or civic engagement kind of roles to learn a little bit more about kind of how things are operated within the city, just and operationally how we function as a city here in the city council. So maybe someday run for council. I think you have the qualifications for it. Highly encourage you to do that. But my support will be with Mr. Funk.
Thank you. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. I also don't want to repeat testimony that's already been said here tonight. I have known Mr. Funk for a number of years, as he has sit on our planning commission for a number of years, and I have never met Ms. Cravens as well. I was very impressed with you tonight. I think you spoke very well. You sound great. You look good on paper. We got some emails. So I'm not saying at all that you are not qualified for this position, but I would have to echo Councilmember Lopez in saying that whoever takes this position, because it is a position that is appointed, needs to be able to hit the ground running. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff coming at us in the next couple of years, and we really need to be able to go. So with that being said, I think that my best choice and who I will be supporting tonight is Mr. Funk, for those reasons, that he really can get on this council and really become a member and start helping us to move forward and get ready for all the things that are coming at us. So I encourage you to stay involved in Lee Summit community and to maybe apply to be on one of our many commissions that have open positions, and learn our civic part of the city, and that would be fantastic. And maybe one day run for council if you choose to. That would be fantastic as well. But my vote tonight will be for Mr. Funk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, this was a really good and exciting meeting. It was good to see this kind of process happen. And as Mayor Pro Tem Lopez mentioned, we've never done this before. And so I was a little nerve-wracked sitting up here watching you guys because, you know, when you've been in the hot seat, it's a little bit scary to make sure that you're saying the right things, right? But anyway, I want to commend both of you for being here and the group that showed up. We love seeing our citizens and our residents come to our council meetings. I always encourage people to come and listen and be involved. So I really appreciate you being involved. I served with Mr. Funk as well on the Planning Commission, and I will tell you I served with him for 4 years, and I learned a lot from being on the Planning Commission with him. This job is not an easy job. It's a hard job, and it takes a lot of dedication, but it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of time involved because we have subcommittees, and the learning is amazing. I mean, I've been here 9 months, and I just feel like I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to get it finally. And so the learning curve is huge. You have to talk to lots of people all the time. I find it fun because that's what I do for a living is talk to people. But it is a big part of what we do. And so I would say that, Mrs. Cravens, I really am proud of you for coming forward. I know that was quite a feat to do that, and anybody that steps up and wants to be involved in a public office is really awesome. And I really encourage you to run for city council, get on the boards and commissions. You'll learn so much, and it'll kind of give you a prerequisite if you're really interested in getting involved with the city. But my vote tonight will be for Mr. Funk. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, for one, I wanted to say that you guys both did great answering questions because I am terrible at forum-style questions, and you both did way better than I would have because I just hate things like that. But anyway, I don't know who I'm going to support at this exact time. I won't know until I cast my vote. But I wanted to say that regardless of how this vote goes, our city will be blessed to have either of you in this, I guess it would be this seat right next to me. And Mr. Funk, I've known you for a long time. I actually went to you and asked questions when I first got elected because you just have such a rich knowledge of how the city operates, and you know a lot. So, yeah, you were very supportive of me when I got elected, and then Ms. Cravens, I actually, this is the first time I've met you, but I already know you're a great person. She's actually very close with some members of my family. So I think either way that this vote goes, I don't think that we could go wrong in choosing either of you. But regardless of how it goes, I would encourage both of you just to stay involved because, I mean, our city needs new voices all of the time. So thank you for showing interest. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Lovell.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I thought it was interesting. One of the questions tonight that we asked you guys was, if you had a friend or a neighbor that was opposed or for some development, how you might vote. It's no secret that I've got a personal relationship with Mr. Funk and his wife Holly. But as I try to do with everything up here, I try to take those personal feelings out of it. But it's unfortunate in a situation like this, we get like a really short time period to ask some questions and kind of see on a surface level how people might respond to those things. So what I have to lean heavily on is what is my personal relationship with that person. A man of high morals and values that I know personally, not to say that you don't have those things. Again, it's just, these are things that I know. The fact that it's a 1.5-year term in the ability to kind of hit the ground running. And so I just try to weigh those things, like what would be the best for the city in this position that we're in pushing this council forward over the next 1.5 years. And I think that's Mr. Funk. So I'll be supporting Mr. Funk tonight. But I appreciate you throwing your hat in the ring. It's very tough and it's nerve-wracking. And I commend you for doing that. And, like everyone said here, there are great opportunities to get involved with the city. I think you'd be fantastic in other places if you don't get it tonight. But I do commend you for coming before us. And thank you guys both.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Peter? Sorry, distraction. No, I listened to what everybody said. Great comments from council. I do think both candidates were extremely prepared tonight. Ms. Cravens said a lot of things that I love. She was incredibly prepared, she was using collaborate, connect people to resources, culture, build connections. She's talking about public safety, promoting the city, focusing on culture, like I said, like she said before. All music to my ears. Those are all things I'm pretty passionate about. And then, of course, Mr. Funk knows I absolutely am all about wanting jobs here. He loves the strat plan. He kept saying, follow the roadmap, follow the roadmap, follow the roadmap, which I'm a big believer in that. So he also talked about infrastructure and such that we need, and it is a big deal. I'm not inclined, like typically with regard to experience, to say, oh, they've got more experience because they've been on the planning commission. I've never been that type of person. In fact, I love all our planning commissioners, but not all of them would be great council members. So at least not yet. So therefore, that's not something I really weigh as much. However, I will say that it's what you do as a planning commissioner. It's what you do as a chair, like you've done, Mr. Funk. You've done a great job. You've really done a great job managing that group, because that's a tough group to rein in. They got a lot of opinions, and they're not supposed to have a lot of opinions. So you reel them in, and it's not easy, I know, because I have council members with lots of opinions. Yes, we do get to have opinions on council. That's the great thing about being on council, is you get to express your opinions more freely than the planning commission does. I think you're both fantastic. I agree with everything everybody was saying. It is hard for me to not reward someone that's put in so much time and effort, and not because of the time, but because of the performance. Mr. Funk he needs to be up here and given a shot at least for a year, and then it's game on after that. So I'll put it back into the hands of the voters. So I think that we were all impressed, not just by the candidates, but by the engagement. We did get a lot of emails, so there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for that. To have your colleagues and your friends and neighbors supporting you in the way that you have. I just want to let you know that when you run for office, it doesn't always go that way. You get your friend support, but you get a lot of criticism too. It's not very fun. But if you're willing to go through that and be up here, then we want you, because it's a good training ground. With that said, I'm going to turn it back over to council for a nomination. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. I would nominate Donnie Funk for council.
Okay, and this is where I was telling Mr. Head I've learned something new. I do not need a second, but we can discuss it. So discussion. My computer's just not working. Councilmember Shields, would you like to discuss?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I would like to nominate Yana Cravens, please.
You're so ornery. Mr. Head, what do I do now? I've got two. Discuss the one?
We can close nominations and have discussion.
All right, here we go. Close the, I got a council member telling me what to do.
Sorry, I took one class on Robert's Rules and I'm like this.
Yeah, no, I got a couple of legal people up here that know more about process than anybody. So, okay, so I'm going to close the nominations then. We have a nomination for each candidate. Discussion. Going. No, it's not. Is that you discussing?
I feel like I've already
Okay.
said the
Pryor?
reasons for my nomination, so.
Councilmember Pryor?
Okay, so like discussion other than, we can just say anything. Yeah, okay. So just vote counting of who has already said who they support. I just wanted to encourage Ms. Cravens to continue to stay involved. I think that you have a powerful voice in our city. You obviously have a ton of support behind you. And that's the first step in getting elected for council, is getting the support. So I would just encourage you to really stay involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Then I'm going to, Mr. Head, do I just call for the vote for the first nomination I received?
Roll call.
This is just too easy, and I'm making it complicated. I'm better than this. I'm usually on my game, just so you all know. You can ask anybody. You can ask those planning commissioners. I am on my game, but I have not been through this before, and I don't like surprises. So I tried. You can ask the council. I prepared and prepared and prepared for this night, word for word. So, and I still am fumbling. So, okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote, and you're going to declare which candidate that you're voting for. Ms. Fowler-Curry, would you please?
Councilmember Shields.
Cravens.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Funk.
Councilmember Pryor.
Funk.
Councilmember Hodges.
Funk.
Councilmember Lovell.
Funk.
Councilmember Rader.
Funk.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Funk.
Mayor Baird.
Funk. All right, that would be 7 in favor of Funk. one for Cravens, and it's again, it's a compliment to all of us that you both applied, Ms. Cravens, truly. We'll be in touch. So, yeah, thank you. With that said, Mr. Dunning, we're going to need to swear Mr. Funk in. No, we'll do that. We'll do that with Ms. Fowler or Curry. Administratively, he can be sworn in, and then we'll do a ceremonial swearing in the 25th of February. Okay. That way we can activate you, Mr. Funk, as a city council member with regard to getting you tuned into all these late night meetings. Hopefully Ms. Funk is okay with that. We'll get you sworn in on the 25th, and you can bring family, and we can celebrate it then and we'll make it official first with the city administration, but we'll do that in more formally on that night. Anything else, Mr. Head or Mr. Dunning? Anything else, council members, on this topic? All right, thank you all again. Okay, let's take a recess. Let's go 10 minutes this time.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either a bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words: mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914, armed.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
Like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network. Who's close to you? If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. Say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped me get to where I am today. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. We want to help, and that's what we love to do.
So I had a client, we got a call, she had some suicidal ideations, and she really felt that she had nobody. And and getting to know her story and getting to know who comes around and sees you, well, then we found a support person, and they responded immediately. And we made a plan. I called back and checked on her in an hour, and then I checked on her in 2 hours. We were able to get her into the additional services to where she talks to someone every week or more. I just took a person that really just thought they had nobody and nobody would show up for them, and show them you do. And you'll be amazed who is in your corner if you just simply say, I need a little help.
When the person called on the phone, she said that there was a dinosaur walking down her road. Of course, we had to go out and check that out. We get out there, and it was a big African tortoise, probably 60 pounds, walking down the road. When they walk, they really stand up tall, so I could see why she thought it was a dinosaur. I'm Rodney Wagner. I'm the manager of Lee Summit Animal Control. So as you can see, we get all sorts of animals here. You got some guinea pigs off to the side. All the windows up here are animals that are adoptable right now. Every one of these dogs is ready to go and ready for adoption. And the same thing with our cats over here. A lot of cool cats in here now, so this is our 3-acre lot we have out back. This is where we do all the walking of dogs, exercise. We also have a side yard off to the side over there, so we can let them run loose. They can run together, and we have what's called play groups. Kind of like having a bunch of kids. Here's our vet room. We have a vet that comes out twice a week. This is our Sally Port where we bring the animals into. This is one of our animal control trucks, and we can hold up to 6 animals. We have a lift on the other side to put big animals in. We actually have temperature gauges in here and in the truck to tell us how hot it is. Once it gets to a certain temperature, we bring all the animals back here immediately. So this actually has traps in it, but we do a lot of wildlife trapping. I mean, a lot. So bats, potbelly pigs, horses, cows, emus, a lot of reptiles. We had a citizen one time that had over 200 reptiles in his basement. Caimans and alligators in here that are 4 or 5 feet long, you can't keep those. And people do, and they're surprised when they can't keep them. I'm like, really? You're surprised you can't have an alligator in your house? Our main goal here is public safety and also the safety of the animals. And we have very dedicated people back there, and they definitely stay here for the love of the animals, which also includes getting them adopted out. We'll have about 4,000 impounded animals a year. Probably about close to 2,000 are dogs and cats. The cats and dogs, when they get impounded here, they go on a 5-day hold. And then after the 5 days, if the owner doesn't show up, then we can put them up for adoption. To adopt an animal here is actually really simple. You just come in, look for whatever animal you're looking for, find the right pick. You go to the adoption room up there and see if you get along with them. You spend as much time as you want to in there. From that point on, it's just a matter of making sure they're spay or neutered and all their vaccinations up to par and they're good to go. We have a very high adoption rate because we try everything in our power to get animals adopted out. We have Heart of America, a Humane Society that we do a lot of adoptions through. And then we also have other groups. We have some people that literally will just look all over the country for somewhere for a dog to go. And we sent dogs up into South Dakota, North Dakota, Washington State. So it's actually, it's a huge united effort to get all these animals home.
Tarzan's got lots of energy. Hazel's got a weird meow. Bell, she wants nothing to do with the other cats. She'll kind of get her grumpy face going.
And the good thing about the people here is that they get all their friends to get animals too. All of us have probably the limit of all the animals that we can have at home. You know, they are huge animal lovers. If it was up to the people here, we'd have 15 cats running around in here. We had a citizen one time out there and he was bathing his 2 9-foot-long boa constrictors in the front yard. Apparently that was garnering some attention, and so we went out there and had to have a talk with him about that. Why do I do this job? Oh, dude, I love this job. I grew up on a farm, and taking care of that many animals, you can't help but like animals. This is just like fancy farming. You know, you're just bringing animals in here, taking care of them, and find them homes, and yeah, absolutely animal lover.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden. And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks. And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour.
This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Well, so for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook. Just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station, and the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better, and that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we had doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Let's bring this meeting back to order. Mr. Elam, you are ready.
All right, Mayor and members of the council, thank you for having us this evening. We're going to do a bit of a tag team presentation with myself, Michael Park, and Amy Nassif. And we are going to talk about the city council priority goals. But before we do that, before we jump in, I wanted to kind of lay a few little ground rules for the conversation and kind of talk a little bit about what we're going to do. So part of that, I've got some props for you. And this is the interactive part of the...
Before you guys ask, I did approve this ahead of time.
Oh, this is the flag. What is this flag?
He's been wanting to throw a flag at me all 7 years.
Who made these?
Is that in the budget?
It's out of our budget, probably. You can give me yours, it's fine.
So, you might be asking yourself, why a flag? Well, one, I was hoping that the football game was going to go a little better than it did, but we're not going to talk about that because I'm still mourning. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk really about these really big topics. These goals are so big, and it's so easy for us even to start to dive into details a lot. And with this presentation, there's not enough time in the evening, and we're not structured right now to go into details of an individual topic. They're all very important. We need to get there, but we really want to focus on process with each one of these. Each one of these goals has got a number of different things that need to occur. They're big, they're broad right now. We need to talk about how we're going to take those and break them into actionable items, into smaller pieces. And these goals are also things that are going to take multiple councils to really accomplish. They're big goals. I can't stress that enough. There are a lot of work that goes into each one of these, and there's a lot of work that's already happened in a lot of these. And so the point of the flag is I wanted to give everybody an opportunity. Hey, if we start going down a deep rabbit hole, if you will, I want anybody to say, hey, we're not talking about that right now. And that includes us as staff. We'll put a pin in it because we will talk about it. It's just there's not enough time tonight to get into specifics on each one of these items. But what we are going to do is we want to review what we've heard at the council retreat. We wanted to show the connection between each one of these goals and the IGNITE plans. We just had a lot of conversations about our long-range plans, so that fits really, really well. We want to talk about the public input process that each one of these may require, and we want to talk really about decision-making process associated with each one of these. And so with that, we've got really kind of a series of questions that we want to ask related to each one of these topics. And if you look in your packet, there's a lot more detailed information on each one of these. We're not going to review that in this presentation, but it's there if you want to take a little bit of a deeper dive. I'm going to take notes for each one of these from a process perspective, and then I'm going to come back at the end and recap what we talked about for each one of these goals for that. And that's how we're proposing to move forward and carry this conversation forward. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Michael Park.
He's the one you got to worry about, getting in the weeds.
It is, I know, that's right. And,
We have flags too.
but I don't have a red flag, so. Now, Michael Park, Director of Public Works. So I'm going to start on stormwater, I'll touch on solid waste, and we'll then transition beautification really over to Ms. Nassif, who will wrap it up with beautification and housing. Stormwater, what I heard at the retreat and what was summarized in the retreat information was a lot of the same feedback we heard as we kind of had our last work session with the full city council on stormwater roughly 2 years ago. A lot of the same questions are still outstanding. We haven't brought that back to the city council. The stormwater goal is really defined in our IGNITE plan. It's one of the few of your 4 big priority goals that is defined with clear objectives and action steps that we were working on. It's aligned with our comprehensive plan and strategic plan and a number of different key elements. And so where we ended up last time is we were finishing up phase 1 of our study. We had been left with a number of questions about what does this plan look like? How do we collect bills? What is the level of service that we can expect from this? And yet we didn't find the right time to come back for our second work session with City Council. And so that's what our question is what path do we come back with all of the information, work out those details, get the clarifications and answers that you asked for 2 years ago? And so do we come back to the full council, or would you like to work out some of this maybe in a public works committee? We had worked through this entire process with a stormwater advisory committee made up of our businesses, major HOAs like Lakewood and Raintree, some of our lake communities, Chamber of Commerce, school district. They were all engaged. So we have an engaged stormwater advisory committee that we can re-engage in the process if that's your desire. But this is where we're at currently standing. I provided a summary in your packet. With regard to the history of the stormwater utility, it's not just the last strategic plan. Look back 2 strategic plans. This has been a 20-year issue in the making. So where would the council like to take this next step?
I heard somebody say committee, someone beside me. I think that we have done I have a lot of confidence in our committee level work that's been coming forward. I mean, I know that sometimes we make an exception and we bring everything to the council, and we have, with this in particular, we did a retreat and we brought a lot of topics straight to council, but I think unless unless the particular goal is something that gives everybody a lot of anxiety, then I don't think stormwater gives everybody a lot of anxiety, you know? I mean, it does give us anxiety, but it's not one of those things where we wouldn't really like to have some committee level work to tee it up for us. You know, now, I do think, though, we have to rely on staff to tell us if it's best to get all of council involved, because eventually there's going to be a big decision that we're going to need to make, and everybody needs to be educated. Everybody on this dais needs to be educated to the hilt to make that decision. Then we have to rely on you to tell us that, Mr. Dunning. You'd have to, and I've done this a million times with you, where I'm like, I mean, what do you think? You know, do we need to get all of council involved, or can we do this at the committee level, and then you know, so that it's more digestible up here. So, yeah, Councilmember Shields.
So I know, obviously we had looked at this before, and it seems like we just kind of got stuck at the how to pay for it stage. And would the committee be kind of starting this conversation over at the beginning, or?
No, in my opinion, I think a committee is a great place to work out the clarifications and questions that we, as an entire city council, were left with 2 years ago. I mean, we had a big work session. It was hours of discussion, and taking the recommendations of the Stormwater Advisory Committee, your constituency and business key stakeholders, right? They said this is the right way they believe to fund it, but we hadn't really defined very well level of service that we were getting for that fund, or how we were going to collect it. If you remember, we talked about, does the county collect it? Do we have a billing system? These are the details that still need to be worked out, and I think a committee is a good way to address that. And then once we feel as a committee we've answered those questions and we're prepared to come back to the full council, we hold another work session. That would be.
Can I interject something on that? I don't think we did that 2 years ago, though. We went straight to council.
We did. We had a full council work session. We didn't answer questions in committee. It never went back to committee. It never went back to full council.
We had committee members that weren't on board with it when it came to council. So it was like, ooh, that's not where we want to start off.
We had unanswered questions, and due to certain political influences in our political climate, it was not really the right time. And then this retreat has kind of revived the initiative.
Okay. Sorry, Councilmember Shields.
Oh, that's fine. I think taking it to committee to try to work some of those things out and then bring it back to a work session makes sense. As long as we're not repeating a lot of the work that's already been done. I think, to me, it seemed like the big challenge was just getting consensus on how to pay for things, so.
But don't start over, don't rework.
Yeah, don't
Pick
reinvent
up
the wheel.
where we left off
Yeah.
at a committee level.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine, to me.
Things have changed a little bit.
Okay.
I mean,
Great feedback.
The environment's changed, council, you know, that was a couple of years ago. I mean, sometimes our minds change. So I think you need to tee up this conversation for us and revisit it, because sometimes we hear the same development, the same presentation, and, you know, we've heard it once before, a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden now we have a lot more experience or somewhat expertise to rely on, knowledge to rely on to make the decision going forward. So, yeah.
Very good. I've got good feedback. I didn't hear any dissension in that direction. Is everybody kind of in agreement? Okay,
Yeah.
Good. Solid waste is our next priority goal we'd like to talk about. Here we heard really a drive, I won't say from everybody, but we heard probably a majority drive that we want to consider contract-based services in the city of Lee Summit. Right now, we're under a subscription-based service where every resident contracts with a service provider of their choice. There are a number of pros and cons to this. We haven't had that conversation with the full council. But this overall goal does align with several comprehensive plan elements and Ignite strategic plan as it relates to like city services and infrastructure. We know if we go to a contract-based delivery service, we're going to save on the wear and tear of our infrastructure. So that's kind of how we've aligned it to our strategic plan. With regard to comprehensive plan, we know it ties to infrastructure, quality of life. There's an obvious fiscal impact to particularly the end user, to our residents, and environmental sustainability element to that. And so what we don't have is really that goal being defined and what we are trying to achieve. Yes, we understand that we want to try to consider a move from subscription-based service to contract-based service, but there's a lot of gray area in that, like what does it look like? What is the purpose of making that change? Because I can tell you, we've gone through this before, and you'll see that in your packet. We have history there. We've got example of that 2-year required statutory notification process. We even provided the example of our last RFP. It is a challenging issue to work through, and if you have experienced that over 10 years ago when we did that, you know what I'm talking about. So we need to make an informed decision, and it helps to do that with a goal that's well understood. And so where would we go for this goal-setting discussion?
I mean, I heard start a committee, but this is one that everyone wants. We've got a lot of work to do, like you're saying, and everybody, there's people on the dais that are pretty passionate about this one, and really want to see all of us educated and discussing it and making what could be a monumental decision. So yes, you can start at the committee level, but I just think it needs to come to us faster. Like, we need to be brought into the loop of what's going on. Do you do that sometimes, Mr. Dunning?
Yeah, what comes to mind, Mayor, if this goes to a committee and we start discussing what are our goals, that's not a majority of the council. So that's where these committee reports and things, we could do a better job of just saying, here's where this solid waste discussion is at. Here's what was discussed. Here's our thoughts. Is there are we good check-ins? Like, just as you mentioned with the stormwater, there's milestones in a process where it's like, we need to go touch that base, make sure we're on a good path. So if this were, I would suggest too, if this were to go to committee, then we need to make sure before we really start digging into the goals and what we want to achieve, that it's clear across the entire council.
I think so, because on something like this, and then I'll come to you. Sorry, Councilmember Rader, give me one more second. Something like this, we need the pros and cons, because we don't know those right now. We haven't had this discussion really in any kind of detail, and I'm talking about high level. I know you're trying to stay high level tonight, and we can't get into the pros and cons right at this very moment, but we need at least some background to start working on. I mean, some council members might want to start doing their own research based on an initial conceptual type of.
And I know we weren't going into the details, but in the packet, we've provided a summary sheet of each of these big goals, but as well then for like solid waste, there's an additional attachment there that talks a little bit about some of those benefits and some of the concerns that you might face going through this process. I think when we talk about goal setting, I want to make sure, are we all on the same page? Because this process, in my opinion, takes commitment, because it will last longer than your term. The minimum, if we go as fast as we can, is 2 years. And so some of you may not be here when it gets to the point where we make a change and decision. And there's a lot of effort on your part, on staff part, to get to that point. And so when we talk about goal, what is it we're trying to accomplish, and are we committed to that goal?
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
What I'm hearing is that the desire is to set this goal as a council as a whole.
I've got 3 council members ready to chime in, so let me get to them. Yeah, stay right here with me, though. Councilmember Rader, please.
Thanks, Mayor. I think I heard a lot of what I had a question about, but I guess before we start going back, because I know there was a lot of research and a lot of stuff that was done. How many years ago was it that you started this whole thing, and the residents weren't on board with it? Is that correct?
No, yes and no. I mean, the last time we did this was in 2011, 2012. I'm going to keep it at a high level. We did not have a uniform community behind it. And so we had opposition from haulers. We had opposition from, I would say, a very minority, but very loud group of constituents. I see heads nodding, yes, so I'm probably on the right track. So you need to be prepared for that with commitment, as well as knowledge and understanding of what the impacts of this decision are before we really start to go down that path.
And then didn't you say that it would ultimately be put to a vote? Or
you have the option. It does not require a vote to make this change. It does require a notification process, and I'll just say, again, keeping this at a high level, that notification is not a commitment that you follow through, and it can be an ongoing notification.
Well, and that just, if we're thinking about this going to a committee or a task force or something like that, okay, I'll be quiet. But I was just trying to get solid. Thanks. Thanks, Mayor.
Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. So would this and stormwater both go to Public Works, and is that going to overload their agenda?
So far, I've heard Stormwater, Public Works Committee, answer questions, bring it back to full council. This one I haven't heard yet go to committee. I've heard some comments here that say maybe we need to take this on as a full council.
If it were to
in
go
work
to a
session.
committee, Public Works is where
It would be
assigned?
Public Works.
Okay. And given the workload and the amount that they meet, do you feel like they'd be able to handle both of those timely, or would it be better to have like a work session of either that committee or the council, or how would you handle all that?
Councilmember Shields, if I may, that is also one of the challenges with all four of these goals coming through. It's prioritization of not only these four goals, but all of the rest of the work that is currently occurring in the city. They're all important, but we've got to manage the resources and the expectations of what is able to be accomplished. A lot of these major goals are public works related, they're development related. Those are both two areas that we have a lot of activity in, as we should. And I'm not saying that we need to put them off or anything. I'm saying that we need to really analyze, once we know what we're doing, how we are going to prioritize that work overall.
But that's why I'm asking, and that's what, like, and if it seems like it's not possible, maybe the answer is yes, it's possible, or the answer is it's not possible for Public Works to prioritize both of these and get them through in timely fashion, then maybe solid waste should come straight to council. I don't want either of these to get so bogged down in the process, especially since our committees only meet once a month, that it can't get
Yes, so I think, again, just with all of these goals, they're multiple year goals. They're 3+ years, multiple goals that are going to be significant amounts of work. So they'll be layered in kind of throughout with kind of consistent updates. But one of the things that I'm hearing from the group right now with solid waste in particular is that a complete presentation, work session, review of what's been done, how that went, and goal setting session is probably the first step towards really moving this particular item forward. And at that time, you can decide if there needs to be a committee, a task force, or continued working directly with the council as a whole. But I'm getting the feeling from the council that there needs to be more background information collectively.
Yeah, we need to know a little more to mitigate our risk. You're wanting a decision, are we all in on this? We're all in on the stormwater, that we need to make a decision. We need to decide to go forward with it or not. So you've already done so much work, we need to finish that work. This, we got to get started on, and we understand it's going to be a process, but, 3 years, but we have to have a starting point, a baseline, and we need that as a group.
I agree. I think this one would be great if we could take it to the full council, get that commitment after having an understanding of do we do it or don't. Then we can work on the RFP details, maybe at a committee level. And to answer your question more directly, Councilmember Shields, I think we can handle like solid waste and stormwater because of the way they'll stagger over time at committee at the same time. Although if you're going to start to pepper in like beautification, which is our next topic, I can't say that we will have the capacity to do all of them, all of these goals together. But so far, solid waste and stormwater, I think we have the capacity to handle that due to they're different, they're much further along than some of the others, as I'll touch base on.
Thank you.
And I think this is another question related to solid waste that we probably can't define yet until
I have another council member, sorry, let me get to them. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor, and I was really going to try and take this back up a little higher, because what I saw on the last slide said, what is our process, goal-setting process for the desired outcomes? So we don't know what our outcome wants to be. We don't know what our process is going to be. I understand how everybody would want to bring this to full council for a work session and get that all figured out, but I can also see where it could easily go to committee. Committee can work out the little minute details and then bring it to full council and say, so this is what we all learned on top of everything that you guys put in our packet for us to read. I mean, that was a whole lot of information to digest. And if you did read through it, you already have a lot of those answers that are being asked tonight. So I think either way works for me, but to give a whole night worth of a council meeting to this, I think would be wasted time, especially with all the information that we already have. That's just my opinion. So, thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
All right, so we're just talking, right? We're just talking out loud here.
Yep.
So I see Councilmember Carlisle's point, but these are all four very heavy lifting kind of items. And I think we have to have a hybrid of how to approach it. I think if we throw everything to committee, it's going to get lost in one of those committees. It's just a heavy burden either on the committees or a heavy burden on staff. So I think we just have to be, like I said, have a hybrid and have some kind of a balance. On this one, I remember this a couple years ago as well. I mean, I just think there's new council people now that never even had that discussion. And even then, we were all over the place. So I think if we could have staff just come and get us caught up with background information, pros, cons, like the mayor asked. And it shouldn't be like an all-night work session necessarily, but just enough time to have undivided attention to this topic, and then walk out of there with some kind of course of action. I think that's the way to go back to committee or whatever with more defined action plan. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay, so Mr. Park, I feel like you've heard from everybody, but I feel like just like when I gauge where council is on decision-making or even, where they might be leaning, like the stormwater, we can move forward on and make a decision, whether it's to go forward with the plan that was presented, before or not. This one we got to get started on, and like right now I can think of pros and I can think of a couple of cons, but more of the cons, and you need to be able to express to us in a way that we know what we're getting into, because that's what you want to know is, are we in this for the long haul? No pun intended. I think you're just gonna have to go back and talk amongst yourselves and figure this out. Take it to the whole council in a 45-minute presentation in a meeting, or can you go through do you want to do that 45 meeting, start with Public Works, and then bring it forward to us?
It's the feedback I've heard, and also taking into consideration the retreat feedback that we heard, I feel like we would be better off in a 45-minute work session with the full council. That's just my personal, professional opinion on this, because we've heard parts of the council, and I feel like if we're acting on those parts, we still need to come to the full council anyways to get concurrence.
Well, I just don't want it to, because there are some people, like I said, up here that are passionate about this one, and like they wouldn't want to see it getting squashed at Public Works without them understanding why, or not squashed, but not.
And so I think we're in alignment, and having a smaller work session, if you will, at the full council, just to make sure we've brought everybody up to speed and everybody's making an educated decision on to go or no go, and then we can work out the details.
Thank you.
Public engagement, as I was starting to lead into this particular discussion, I think we have to wait till we decide on the goal to define whether or not we want public engagement and how that takes shape. I'm seeing nodding heads yes there, so we're not ready to say what that looks like at this point in time. And then our decision-making process, I think we just talked about that, come to the full council, get up to speed, reveal some of those pros and cons, have a little bit of discussion, and then make a decision on what process it'll follow from there as we get started. Beautification is much broader than the last two priority topics, multifaceted. The way I see this is we need an overall vision of what is this goal. The feedback we heard was, let's get Cultural Commission involved. We also heard that it's not just about an overall vision and needing to establish that for the entire community, which could be gateway monuments and all sorts of things. But it's also MoDOT. We heard a clear, loud focus on what is our MoDOT coordination and corridor aesthetics, are they clean, and maintenance. And so I think those two things take very different paths. And then the third major topic I heard in these themes was our design standards, and that's where Ms. Nassif perhaps can give a little more background on what we heard with regard to design standards. And I think each of those, all kind of combined under the umbrella of beautification, align with various elements of our comp plan and our strategic plan. And so I think for each of them, they probably need their own discussion on what is the goal-setting process for beautification, goal-setting process for establishing the vision, goal-setting process for continued MoDOT coordination and maintenance of our corridors, and a goal-setting process for what do we mean as a community for design standards and development and what our community aesthetically aspires to look like. I think all three of those, and maybe there's more, maybe I've missed something, and I hope through our conversation you let us know if I've missed something of those three major topics, but I think each one is distinct under beautification. And each one is going to take efforts from Public Works, from Development Services Department, and probably other stakeholders in the community. So I'll kind of let Ms. Nassif come up here and help me tag team this process for beautification. What are your thoughts on how each of those topics, or were there other topics that we didn't pull from the themes of the retreat?
I'm not going to speak first this time, but I have some opinions on this one. So Councilmember Carlisle, I'll let you go first.
Thanks, Mayor. So on this, I really heard three different things, and to me, that's three totally different areas. So like, you know, our goal setting for beautification, like what do we mean by that? That needs to be a whole council thing, right? When it comes to like all the trash in the corridors and MoDOT issues, really that's legislative, right? We got to figure out how to get that priority done, but I don't think that's anything except for legislative for that certain one, you know, and then our design standards, and that's, you know, CEDC. So I think in this one topic, I see three things at three total different levels. So that's just my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Shields.
I mean, I think that's pretty right on. I felt like when we established this one as a topic that we were lumping too many things together. That I think what happened was we all wrote all these priorities, and then we started trying to make the biggest circle around that we could to make our big rocks or whatever. And I think each of these things is an important discussion, but just because they all have to do with how the city looks doesn't really mean that they're that related. So I'm fine with having some kind of a council discussion about it, but I kind of think they just need to get broken up and assigned to where they really go. Because like whether or not MoDOT will clean up the right-of-ways or we enter into some kind of agreement with them so that we can do it isn't really related to whether our power lines should be buried. Like they both affect how the city looks, but they're really not, they don't need to be done in tandem, I think.
Okay. I want to bring another fourth topic, like they're talking about the three. I feel like the problem with beautification is there's not a person up here on this dais that isn't for it. But like Councilmember Shields said, it's so big and it's so complicated and there's so many moving parts. And to be quite honest, we have people that are passionate about litter. But then you have people that are passionate about beautification with regard to wild plants, wildflowers. And we need some, I don't mean this, here, I'll pick on myself. We need champions for any initiative, you know, when you try to bring these forward. And I can't be the champion on this one because I don't have the expertise. I don't have I've tried on the litter on the legislative side, trying to, you know, figure out ways. I've pushed on with this council, we pushed on staff on the litter. But the thing is, we need community support, and so we need advocates in the community. We need some champions that are going to be in this for the long haul and not just come in for 6 months of our life and gripe at us about trash and then disappear. We need longevity. We need those advocates. And yes, the city can be the institutional knowledge and be the one that helps carry it from council to council to council, but we've got to have some stakeholders, and we got to figure out who those stakeholders are and bring them into this conversation right at the front and figure out what we're doing, because this one's a tough one. This one's really tough. I mean, because I'm for a lot of this, but when it comes to taking action and such, it's a hard one to spend dollars on that when we have stormwater issues, spend dollars on that when we have, you know, other financial considerations that we as a council tend to have to prioritize. We don't have a choice. So what do you think about that? Advocates in the community, Mr. Dunning? I mean, Mr. Elam, you guys are out there enough. Like, how do we get that?
Yeah, these are not solely, city issues, right? Partnerships get created, and I like the way you put it, we need champions, right? Who's carrying that flag? Who's got that energy and passion to carry these through and then sustain it is part of our challenge as well, so.
I don't know what to, I think we're gonna have to break it apart, like the council member said, and figure out what is the biggest rock that we want to take on, and address that. I feel like we've done a lot for the litter, and yet we haven't, activity and work, but we haven't made a dent. Not at least to some people's satisfaction.
Correct, Mayor. We started up the Green Team, and we'll have a presentation update, kind of our annual update on those activities. MoDOT has stepped in with some more contracting, but we haven't met the expectations of a lot of our constituency. And so we're trying a lot of different things, but that's just the litter issue in MoDOT right-of-ways. And like you said, we've got these other 2 or 3 topics that are also, I tend to agree with Councilmember Shields, a little disconnected, though it's all in one big circle, and it's really hard for us to break this down. And we're going to have to work together to get a better understanding of what it is where we're going with each of them.
Yeah.
And who do we engage?
Ms. Nassif wants to jump in.
One of them, thank you, Amy Nassif, Interim Director of Development, because one of them too, when it comes to the design standards, we did have one meeting already with CEDC, and that was before the council retreat. So breaking them up into those topics, you're going to have different stakeholders. It might be different than forums or look differently for the setting goals, and things like that as well, and who our partners will be.
So when we went to the Cultural Commission from the Beautification, and we combined, the Beautification Commission was not looking at a broad swath of Lee Summit. They were super micro, hyper-focused, thank you. And so we have to figure out how, yes, you all can do all this work, but then we have to, it's the same thing with the trash issue. Are we in this for the long haul? And we have to figure out that. I think this one's harder than the contracting for trash. This one's harder to define and harder to get the advocacy.
So, Mayor, just as I'm listening to the conversation and thinking through things, perhaps a first step forward is to have the big picture vision conversation between the city council and the cultural commission in a joint session type of format, similar to how we handle we have joint sessions with the planning commission and the parks board. This could be a very focused work session to kind of help define that big picture vision to then break it apart as a potential.
Yeah, I know he's not feeling good, but I'm gonna pick on one of the council members. What's you're the most passionate, and I love it. I love it every time you talk about the things that you talk about, but I don't know how to get this done.
Well, I think of it in a couple
support.
of buckets. You can talk about the waste and litter, like.
Come back to you,
and
Councilmember.
I don't even know if you could figure this out, but I'd love to take over our overpasses. And I don't know what that cost would be where we mow, so there's one area, or in public works. So if we design a new roadway, there's a design standard for it, like we talked about last time. We're going to push the light posts out. We're going to use these materials. We're going to have roundabouts, things like that. So we could just come up with some standards for different, and then and we go back to design with private development, we could have some standards when we're doing things like that. So I think if you just set that bar, you just have to know what those materials look like, and then we have it. And now when you guys go out to bid, these critical functions are you have a standard to go from. And we know it's going to be a little bit more, but that's what we've decided. And so I think we could at least knock out some things, especially public works side. And then, and I don't know what we can do on the overpasses, but man, when I drive through Wentzville on I-70, man, that grass is mowed diagonal. There's no litter. There's a sign on it. They've done something to be able to take that over from MoDOT. I know there's a cost associated with it, but I think those are things where we could immediately clean up litter on our overpasses if there's a way to take that contract over somehow and figure out a way to budget for it. Yeah, and so those are just that's a low-hanging fruit where I think we could knock some things out. But
yeah, and I think that has to do with who are we engaging? You said we need community champions. When you think of Wentzville, they have corporate partnerships. It's not all on the cities. You know, and MoDOT has programs for those, so we need to have the conversation about who are we engaging to influence the vision, but who are we also engaging to be champions within the community. That I think beautification is more than just a city government responsibility. It takes the entire community to make an influence to what your beautification is. What is that vision and what are you trying to achieve? We don't know yet what it is we're trying to reach, but it's going to take more than just Mr. Dunning and his staff. And
I've got another council member that's
real
a
quick,
champion for this. Go ahead.
when that last meeting we had that design consultant too, we're starting, like, where's that too? Because I thought that was helping to guide us in,
architecture, yeah.
So you're talking the architecture updates?
when we had that joint meeting.
We are going to have a draft any day now for
Okay.
staff to start reviewing and stuff. They were finishing their work and collecting stuff, and so we should have it.
Yeah,
Very
because I think that will be helpful information as we look at design standards for specifically private development.
Yeah, and so, and those standards will, because we had been taking notes before too, that you all have some questions, tree preservation, buffers, berms, how to do things on with the site layout and more of the site design, that we were still taking notes of. Those standards from our consultant are going to focus more so on the building itself, the building design, building materials, but we have all those notes as well. So however we decide what the forum may look like, we'll be able to have some of that information to start those discussions with you all with as well.
Because if we did go to a commission, like if we were involving the culture commission, like we would just need clear direction there, because I could see that thing just going around and around and around. And I think some of this, like I said, is, I think a few different policies, whether it's on the public works side or even some of these developments that get incentives or like there's things going on, like we can just implement those things. And that makes it easier or more clear. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Pryor, what do you think about this? You're into beautification.
Well, I was just going to say that, so as far as like the trash on the side of the road, I think maybe we've had this discussion, a large part of the trash that's on the side of the road, and they, whoever that news reporter that did all of the news stories when the landfill thing was going on, a large part of the trash on the side of the road is coming out of trash trucks. So I don't know how many trash companies we have going through our city at any given day, but there's a lot. And so I just feel like even like if we choose to go a direction that we don't have as many trash companies in our city, that's going to eliminate a lot of litter on the side of the road just by doing that. So that's kind of I feel like we've done a good job at really making our point to MoDOT, like, they need to do something about the litter, but I also feel like that's something that's gonna, I don't know. With other things. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not.
You can't throw it at Councilmember Pryor. She just
I'm
now
not,
started talking.
I'm not throwing it at her.
Okay.
I was just kind of flexing.
All right.
Are you done?
So, yeah, I'm done. I just think that that's something that maybe, while it is in beautification, that's almost like a kind of wait and see thing. I don't know.
I think you're right. We can address some of the beautification issues, like you mentioned, trash, perhaps with some decisions that are related to a different goal, like solid waste. I think that's your point.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, you got a
I'll
flag.
Yeah, no, I was not going to throw this. I was just kind of keeping preoccupied. I'll be quick. No, I just sticking to the same kind of point I made earlier. I just think maybe you called it a mini work session. It doesn't have to be like an all-night deal. But in this case, I think it'd be good for us to sit down. Like this discussion right now is really good discussion. I mean, there's other people, some of us are more passionate about other, different things. But if we can walk out of there with some kind of an idea, whether we assign components of it to a committee, or like I use the 50-291 interchange as an example. I mean, that's a model we could use for beautification of bridges and I don't know if anybody on this dais up here compares what happens in the St. Louis suburbs, the county, with all their roadways and bridges. Talk about beautification. I mean, we can't even get our bridge over Douglas is like the ugliest bridge in the world. And if it can just be painted, I'll go up there with the paintbrush and paint it if I have to. We've got giant developments all around there. There should be some kind of a shared vision, like you said, with the private sector or whoever, to get for beautification. So, yeah, those are all, gateways, of people coming through our city, and they look at those ugly bridges compared to the, St. Louis suburbs. So I just think a work session would be kind of beneficial.
I'm not convinced it'll be beneficial, but that's okay. I'm willing to do it.
I think it'll be a great discussion. As you can see, why we want to try to keep this at a high level, because just this one topic, we could probably talk for 2 or 3 hours.
I think the one thing I agree with was what Councilmember Pryor said with regard to one major thing we could do is, if we made a decision but that's a huge 3-year decision, like you said. And then I do think that, I don't know. I've always thought the only way we're going to get this beautification thing done with regard to wildflowers and things of that nature is to have one really just pick a project and we go try to do something new and then see if we can get momentum. But that's not really my style. Usually I'm a process person. But I'm just going to follow your lead on this. I don't know if we've given you enough or not, but.
Elam, did you get enough?
Yeah, so really what I heard is that I think we heard you correctly on the fact that there's really 3 different buckets, maybe 4 different buckets. And we need to break those out, but we still need to come to a consensus as to how we're going to prioritize those different items. Because, again, each one of them takes a different level. But if we can get some direction on, we're going to focus on the architectural design standards first. Then we're going to move into the landscaping design standards, and we're going to work on the MoDOT contract. I'm just throwing that out there. Those are things that we can then tangibly track and go after and put a focus on with the rest of the items as well. So long-winded way of saying that I think we can come back with this feedback to the council as a whole and maybe propose some of those, and we can have a conversation about those priorities and how we knock them down. The other thing that I heard that is going to be a little bit more challenging that we need to work on is how do we get those advocates and those community champions, and where are those at? So I think that's just one that we all need to think about.
I've got ideas, but it's not for tonight. I mean, if you need people on board, there's ways, but I know I don't. So.
Great, thank you. I think that's good discussion and feedback. And at this point, Ms. Nassif will handle housing.
We're going to end on the easy one, right?
Got your flags out? This is a good one. So, saving the best for last. So, this one is the very big rock of housing. And so, again, from the council retreat, we heard really great stuff. A lot of the things that we did hear from the council retreat were things that we had been working on or in progress working on with direction we had gotten from the council previously or even from the CEDC. Some things we had started, some things we were partially through, and some things we were about to start. So really great things. And actually, all of the items from the EverStrive report really do tie back to both Ignite plans, which is also wonderful because these are the 2 plans that really started to set the stage early on housing and what the overall big items for housing were. So what we really need is to understand and come to an idea of what our goal-setting process is going to be. The wonderful thing about working with you all is that you are very open to all the suggestions and recommendations from staff. The bad thing is sometimes when we come to the meetings, we leave with, let's do all those, and then here's 20 more things, So it kind of reminds me like I went to the movies over the weekend, popcorn's popping and it starts exploding everywhere out of the top, right? And it's kind of uncontrollable. We need to just get a handle on what we want to see collectively for staff to be working on. So then we can figure out the priorities. Because all of the items that we do have with housing, just as much with stormwater, solid waste, and the beautification, it's the same staff resources. So we need to have an understanding of what are those goals going to be? So what's our process for the goal setting is the first thing. And then that'll help us figure out how to prioritize it. And housing, most of all, as you all know, this is years. This is not next week or in 2 weeks. We have made some awesome progress in the last year and a half and done like 10 or 12 items right off our list of some goals and strategies we had. But there's so much more to do. So this is where we really need your help. So that first big and real important question is, what does the goal setting look like? Do we stay at CEDC? Should there be like a housing workshop with you all? Should it be just at a regular council meeting? Or what are your thoughts on this?
Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. So on this one, again, I think it needs to be broken down a little bit. It obviously has to go through committee with all the things, but first you guys gotta stop asking us what we want and complete the things we already said, right? So I think really where our starting process in my mind is education. You know, I'm pretty sure that I was in this bubble at the strategic, what's it called? Retreat, thank you. I was in this bubble for that. And out of everything we threw at the wall, the one thing that I know I said is we need to know what we have. So we need education. We need to know, like years ago, we had a housing report that told us how many of everything we had. We need to know that. We need to know what we have to know what we need, right? So I think education is the first thing, and I think that has to come to the full council so that they can be educated on where we need to start and what our goals should be first.
And that's wonderful. So we did a couple sessions with that at CEDC in your packet for this evening. Hopefully some of the links are working too. If you're bored tonight, tomorrow, if you're trapped with the snow and you haven't shoveled yet, there are links to the past CEDC packets where we did a whole housing analysis of where are we now, what do we have, what is our housing stock today? Which, when I say today, that was as of, I think it was August when we went back. And lots of really great data. We're happy to come back again and do that again because we're housing nerds and we could give you data all day long too. But hopefully maybe that might help start some of the education piece too, to figure out too what are the education pieces that you all would like as well.
Okay, Councilmember Rader.
Thanks, Mayor. Talk about a housing nerd. In the packet, though, I believe when I was looking at some of those statistics, they were still like 2022. So do we have something that, I know you have to wait for the studies to come out, but do we have something that is, am I correct in that?
The housing stock data is real time. The items that you're talking about is from the ACS, American Community Survey. So some data that we do get is from the Census Bureau, but the things on what our housing stock is today and what we have and what land we have is all real time. And it's from the last couple months. We track it on a regular basis.
So I think with everything, you know, we begin at the beginning. So having a task force or a committee, I think is always a good thing, especially with housing, because there's a lot of components to it. And I think that we just need to take all the things that you've lined out for us and pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what are we going to do this year? What are we going to do next year? What are we going to do the next year? And then stick with it until they're done. That's the big thing, is making sure that we complete each one so that we can start getting that changes in our housing stock and looking at all the things that have to do with that, education and all the other things. There was a lot of things in the packet about low-income housing, and the CDBG grant was in there
Community
as
Development
well.
Block Grant.
Yeah, so all those things. So it's just like, what are the top things that we want to get done for? And then go to the next 4.
And that would be really helpful. And so one of our questions would be, do we start and engage that conversation at a workshop then? Say after we do some education, then you all help us prioritize collectively as this full group instead of going back to like CEDC and doing that effort?
Councilmember Shields.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think less so than on our last topic, but this is still like a collection of topics that housing is one really big umbrella. But it would be nice to get on the same page with each other at a work session or workshop, what do we want to call it, about, you know, what are we trying to do? You know, are we trying to bring in actual, you know, bring in some actual like low-income housing, like we have a couple of areas for our seniors already, or do we want to just try to, you know, have some new housing stock that costs, you know, under $400,000? Like, what are we talking about? What are we trying to do? And then kind of some of those levers in terms of incentives or zoning or tax credits or whatever, and identify a couple of areas to really drill down in. So I think, because it's such a broad topic, I think we have to try to break it into some smaller ones and probably a full council discussion to help break that down and assign it to where it needs to go, I'd be fine with that.
What are you getting out of all this?
So I heard task force, but then I also heard full council. And I think I saw more heads nodding on full council first. And one of the things that we've been talking about is really how do we present the resources, essentially, because a lot of the information we have had a lot of conversations with CEDC, it really going back to the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan. Housing's been a big part of both of those plans with a number of different items. And I think one of the things that we can do, and on our list of things to do, is really setting up more of I'll say a housing toolkit area to be a little bit more upfront with the data, just because that way everybody knows where it's at on different things. But so there's some of the administrative technical side of things that we can definitely work on. But first, I think it's, again, put all that together, come have the conversation with council as a whole, and then I think from what would be helpful for council is from staff's perspective to say, okay, here's realistically 3 things that we think we can tackle right now, just whatever that is, based on the conversations.
Similar, so this reminds me similar to the trash approach that we're going to take, which is we need to see where there's some consensus up here to then, before we can really start the committee work, like in earnest. Even though we're trying to do committee work right now, we need to mitigate for the fact that, that you got other council members that might feel differently or something. So
This is one of those great topics too, because there's so many different ideas and what success might look like. And as staff too, we want to make sure that we're heading down the right direction with you all as well. So I think from that workshop, that's going to help us in understanding what success looks like and those goals are. I think then we'll be able to ask the question of what does public engagement look like, and how robust that is, and what method that takes, along with then our decision-making process. I think those will just flow kind of in that order, unless you all feel otherwise, but it seems like a good way to identify those and then identify the housing buckets we want to go into as well.
again, I think it's easier to get people involved with something like housing than it is beautification. It is easier to find housing, but also people just are more passionate. There's more people that are passionate about it, and beautification takes a little bit more expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had planned on about an hour, and I think we're right there. So just recapping again on these. Thank you for the conversation tonight. I think it does kind of put another exclamation point on the fact that, yeah, these are big, but we can come up with a way to tackle these together. And that's really what we're trying to get at as staff, is we're really trying to make sure that we're hearing the direction from the council and that we're able to act upon on that direction. So with that, for stormwater, Public Works Committee, we're going to go to Public Works Committee. We're going to do some detailed work and prep for a work session after that. Solid waste, we're going to take where we're at currently, the information that we've happened before. We're going to have some dedicated time to educate, discuss the pros and cons with the council as a whole. Beautification, we're going to break that down into the 3 different buckets, if you will. We're going to do that. We're going to come with some recommendations on where those can go, and we're going to have another mini work session to make sure that that's what we want, dedicated time with the council as a whole. And then housing. We're going to have a housing workshop on our end. We're going to organize all of the information and data that we've got to date, where we're at, all of the different plans, put that in a format that is going to be educational for the council as a whole, to then narrow that down into action items at a housing workshop.
Make sure there's games at that workshop like Ms. Nassif had at the school district.
Yeah, she's going to have to do all these workshops because that's her area of expertise.
No, you're making it sound like we made some important decisions, so I like
absolutely
the way you
did.
summarized it, so thank you.
Yep, we absolutely did.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
No fouls.
Everybody, 1, 2, 3. There we go.
I'm keeping mine, too.
All right. Well,
When you're least expecting it.
we do have
Keep it in my bag,
we have a couple items of business to take care of. Sorry you had to sit through this long night before we get to this public hearing.
They're getting
Apologize. Yeah, they're getting educated all right. They're like, boy, these guys talk a lot. I'm going to close the regular session, open the public hearing in the matter of agenda item 7A. This is a public hearing for the second amended and restated master plan for industrial development projects for Streets of West Pryor Development. Streets of West Pryor LLC is the applicant. Would all those wishing to speak to this matter please rise and be sworn in by the city clerk? Mr. Bushek, where were you? Were you sitting over there?
No,
Oh, you were working,
working upstairs.
watching this on TV.
Yes. David Bushek, Chief Counsel of Economic Development and Planning. This is a public hearing to consider an amendment to the Chapter 100 plan for the Streets of West Pryor project, and the developer will present first, and they have a few slides to show you.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate your time. Matt Pennington, Drake Development, 7200 West 132nd Street, Overland Park, Kansas. Tonight's the Chapter 100 on Streets of West Pryor. And the Chapter 100, I know David will get into the specifics of it, but what this essentially does is abate the sales tax associated with materials when we build a building out there at Streets of West Pryor. So for example, tonight, I'd say the biggest thing that we'll be discussing is the hotel component of Streets of West Pryor, and it's been something we've discussed for a long time. But it's an extremely important tool, which is going to eventually allow us to get out of the ground on that site. And why it's so important is you're not only buying all the materials, but the building materials, but you're buying everything inside the hotel as well. So it's a significant I guess, in credit towards the project, which allows us to get out of the ground. So, so tonight we're asking for an extension to the actual Chapter 100, allowing us to try and take care of that credit for the remaining pads. And so I think you've all seen where it's at and where we're kind of where we're sitting. Currently, this is what's left. We have 3 different pads left. There's Lot 4, which is right next to Beam and behind BB Bop and by the grocery store. That lot has been, I wouldn't say it's challenging. I've had a number of different options to go there. Swig was one of them, which you've probably seen at the other development, and I traveled over here the other weekend to sit in a 100-car stack. And I thought to myself, I'm really glad I didn't do that. But then there's been a number of other, smaller users that'll fit to that site, but it's not for lack of interest. It's lack of quality is what I was more or less, and nothing against Swig. I enjoyed my drink, but again, I'm just looking for the best tenants that are going to join Streets of West Pryor. So tonight, I think most of this is just based off of why are we here for the extension? It's to allow us to continue to wait for quality. The pad in the back here, you see that is the hotel pad. The hotel market is finicky. We did a Spring Hill suite in Topeka, Kansas, in a mixed-use environment out there. It's been wildly successful. It's pretty much hinged upon, the hotel market is hinged upon what they call a STAR report. I don't know what STAR means, but it's called a STAR report, and that report essentially gives you what they believe the market can bear. Can it support 60 to 70% occupancy to make a hotel successful? In that market, Topeka was a good exception of that. There was really no new product. So when that STAR report came back, it was right along that cusp of it making it work or not. we elected to move forward on it, it required an enormous amount of equity. We ended up having a strategic partner that allowed us to get that out of the ground there. But these are the things that make, why is this pad sitting here? And so we had went as far as trying to move forward. I'm currently a Marriott franchisee, and I think that's one of the things that Drake as a whole is we like to think that we're fully integrated, which means we can do every different asset class as part of any of these developments. So we did that about a year ago for this particular pad, and we did that with Marriott, became a franchisee, started moving it forward, was approved as a franchisee, and we were wanting to do a Spring Hill Suites. Just like we did in Topeka. It's a nice hotel. We have, again, that pad has not sat there with lack of interest. I've had a number of lower budget flags. I say flags, it's just the type of hotel, it's the brand, that have wanted to do something there, but I just didn't feel like it complemented the entire development. So that's what got us into the spot to where we were adamant about being the franchisee and moving it forward as a Spring Hill Suites. Well, you fast forward to Discovery Park was approved, and I think they did a town place suites over there, and they're doing I believe a Hilton too. So that's a Marriott brand as well, the town place suite. So as we're moving forward, I'm excited for them to go do that. It does put a bit of a delay on our plans because just of saturation, you can't have 200 and some hotel rooms coming on in the city all at once. You couldn't have 300, which would we be having at that time. So I think that what we're here tonight saying is that we believe we're going to continue the quality here. We're dedicated to try and build something that is of quality. We'd like to extend the pass to have that credit to be able to get this out of the ground. Interest rates have not been a good friend of ours. COVID was not friendly to the actual hospitality industry. They're finally just coming out of the other side, which now that's why you're seeing some of these hotels coming out of the ground. So we do still believe it's a vital, important component to the site, and that's something we'll want to do in the future. So the last remaining pad is the one, was by design. We wanted that pad to be the last one. Now, if you remember, we were here about a year ago, and we had leases signed for that pad. And one of them was Crack Shack, and the other one was Via 313. We actually had a full set of plans. We had all of our contractors ready to go out there, and then one of the tenants hit financial problems. And so I made the decision to claw back and wait because I didn't want to have a building that was going to be just sitting out there with a ghost tenant. And so we had to wait for 6 months, and we actually had to terminate those two tenants. And, the group lost some money, but it was the right thing to do rather than build some, building that wasn't going to be occupied. The great news is that this is our best pad, and by design, we wanted it to sit here in this very manner. So we have some exciting things happening on that. You're going to hear more about that here in the future. But I think the most important part of us coming in, extending the Chapter 100, is for the hotel, not so much for these restaurants, because just of the sheer volume and the amount of money is going to be required to be spent on the hotel. So I just did a quick look at all the different things that have happened at Streets of West Pryor. So if you look at our original development plan, we were planning 143,000 square feet. We ended up with 158,000 square feet, a lot more restaurants and retail than we had originally planned. These were just some of the notable, restaurants. 14 restaurants have been now committed. All new concepts to the city of Lee Summit, with the exception of Starbucks. And I just went over the remaining opportunities of the 2 restaurant sites and 1 hotel. So tonight we're asking for an additional 3-year pass to allow us to get to that point where we can hopefully get that Spring Hill Suites or an equivalent flag similar to Marriott out of the ground. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I will start by entering into the record exhibits 1 through 4 that are in your meeting packet, and then exhibit 5 will be the developer slides that you're looking at tonight.
Please enter into the record exhibits 1 through 4 and the developer's presentation.
Thank you.
For exhibit 5.
As I said, this is a public hearing to consider the second amended and restated master plan for the Chapter 100 incentive component of the project. This map that we have up here is the most useful for my purposes to show you just the 3 lots that are still undeveloped. The Chapter 100 component that we're discussing tonight, the sales tax exemption on construction materials, is what the council previously approved back in 2019, and this is a completion of that incentive. The incentive is allows them to purchase the construction materials for the buildings on a tax-exempt basis, which is what the original council's approval was. And this extension tonight simply extends it through the end of 2027. I believe that, so the developer will have 3 years, if you approve this amended plan, to purchase the construction materials on a tax-exempt basis and then complete the development of these 3 lots. That's probably enough history for you, for me to conclude there. It's simply an extension of the existing Chapter 100.
Okay, why just 3 years? I'm sorry. I mean, because, this takes a little time.
Yeah, so my understanding is the developer believes that within 3 years, they will be in a position to purchase the construction materials that are needed to complete these 3 lots and then complete the construction. So the idea is, even if it takes them through the year 2027 to make the purchases, the construction can be completed in the year 28 or possibly in 27, but it gives them a 3-year extension.
Okay, questions for the developer or applicant? Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. Is an extension like this pretty common? I don't feel like we see these super often, but just is this kind of standard practice? Do you have any thoughts on how often the city would do something like this?
I would say, given COVID, this is probably the best path. This is really, I think, largely a function of COVID. The incentives were approved by the city council in 2019, and then in 2020, we hit COVID. That slowed things down. We hit the inflation in 22, and that obviously slowed this project down, but you see the progress that they have made with the 3 remaining lots, as the developers explained. So I don't know if this is usual, but there's a lot of projects that the city council did approve, gave the initial approval to, and you've seen on my charts, they're still in red because they're still in process. They've been through the conceptual stage but haven't been approved, or they've been approved but haven't been implemented, haven't been constructed. So this is kind of the pattern that we've seen after COVID.
Thank you. Other questions from council? Okay. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Please come forward, or in opposition, either one. Okay. Any additional questions from council? Does the applicant care to make any further comment? Hearing no further testimony, I'm closing the public hearing and reopening the regular session. Is there any council discussion on this application? I'm just glad we're still talking about a hotel out there. And I appreciate the seeking the quality tenants, seeking the right tenants for that fit the development, because this is a point of pride for the community and a success, and so we want you to do what you need to do to make good decisions. Yeah, especially on the best 2 pads, or at least the best pad and the one right beside it. So that's going to be highly visible.
The Ritz-Carlton still in play.
So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and ask Councilmember Lovell to read Bill number 25-045. Are those new glasses? Oh, okay.
Anything. I move to advance the second reading Bill number 25-045, an ordinance approving a second amended and restated master plan for industrial development projects for the streets of West Pryor development.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 25-045 by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. 8-0. It does move to second reading. So thanks for being patient tonight and waiting around for us.
Learning all the things you learn.
We have public comments. Ms. Fowler or Curry?
I've not received any requests.
Thank you. Proposed ordinances, second reading. Councilmember Shields, would you please read Bill number 25-035?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption of Bill number 25-035, an ordinance approving Amendment number 5 to the budget for fiscal year ending June 30, 2025, as adopted by ordinances 9936, 9937, 9938, 9939, and 9940 by amending the authorized expenditures for the city.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 25-035 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion. Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. That bill is adopted unanimously.
Mayor, on that one, that is the one that Mayor Pro Tem Lopez would need to recuse from.
Okay. Go ahead and withdraw your vote. You can hit that withdraw button. No.
I think I made the change for you.
Okay. Please record the vote. 7-0 with 1 recusal. Thank you. Thanks for catching that. Great job on the candidate forum tonight. You were spot on. You made him stay within his 60 seconds. Council comment or committee reports. Councilmember Lovell. Oh, no. They're all gone. Councilmember Lovell, do you have a committee report?
I do. Due to the weather, tomorrow we are having our CEDC meeting virtually, but the meeting won't be broadcast live, but it will be recorded and posted, I think, to the city's website the following day. So if anybody wants to participate in that meeting, let us know and we can get you a link to it. Otherwise, we'll be virtual via Zoom tomorrow.
Excellent. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. We had Lee Summit Economic Development Council meeting today. They're continuing, as you know, you were there, they're continuing their president search process and narrowing down their candidates, and hopefully we'll have some good news out of them here pretty soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Works Committee met last night, so Ryan Elam made me notes to read. The Water Utilities Department reviewed a pilot program to assist homeowners with sanitary sewer repairs located under pavement within the right-of-way. This is a new program that is intended to help with extraordinary situations. So we had a lot of presentations last night. We had a presentation on a review of the sidewalk gap program and discussed prioritization and the next phase of the program. And we had an update on the Little Blue River flood risk mitigation study. It was a very large multi-jurisdictional effort being led by the U.S. Corps of Engineers. And they're getting ready to have additional public meetings to review potential solutions, including the addition of dry basins and vegetation restoration in numerous areas. And then he did say he left out the Stonewood pressure sewer main, so there's a neighborhood that the city is going to be taking over and the reason I'm bringing it up is because I know Councilmember Hodges has actually worked with a couple of the homeowners. So we did discuss that in a presentation last night, and it should be, completed soon. So the city is going to take over basically a private sewer pressure sewer system, because they've made sure that they had to get it in completely good working order, and they've done the inspections. So, yeah. Thank you.
I'm sure they did if Michael Park was about to take it over. He's does not like taking things over.
Yes. Well, and Councilmember Hodges has spoken with a couple of the people, and they wanted an update. So, yeah, everything's going in the right direction.
Is it the water department?
Nilly-nilly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it might not have happened if Michael Park would have been in charge of it. He would have been like making them put, beautification on the water system or something. Yeah.
And Jeff Thorne gave that update last night. Jeff Hawthorne, right? Yeah. And he did a great job. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I need to make my notes in advance next time, but Rules Committee will be 11:30 on February 20th, and I just want to mention that since we don't have a meeting next week for regular council.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Pryor. Oh, he made the call early.
No 5 a.m.
No, I was telling one of the young people that was here tonight, they were like, is there going to be school tomorrow? What? And I was like, well, I just talked to him, and he said he's not going to decide till 3:30 in the morning. I said, I tried to get him to call it right now, so you would know, but I have to give Dr. Buck a hard time. All right, thank you. Council comments? School's closed. Well, thank you all for your input on the questions and your feedback on things, and hopefully you thought it went well. I had a lot of nice conversations after the candidate forum with all the engaged citizens, so I do want to point out that you all went down and visited well, John tried to go down and visit, but then he had to come back up and sit down because he's hurting, but we all went out there and we engaged with everybody, and I think that says a lot for this council and the way you're doing things, leading by example, going down on the floor at the break when we could have gone back here and talked amongst ourselves. You didn't do that. I mean, it just means a lot, and so it's really good optics, and so thank you all for that. And then we're going to go to Jeff City next week. A few of us are, and we're going to, just a reminder, I've said this in the legislative meeting, but we're going to make sure that we make friends first, thank them for their support, because they have been supportive, but also we're going to make sure that we have asks ready, because they are sitting on a large surplus, and we want to make sure that if they dole out money at the end of the session, we have. So we've got things we're going to be asking them, and there's some big asks, but we've been rewarded before, and we're doing things the right way in this community, and we're in a good position with the representatives and senator that we have at the state level. So this is like, I think the stars are aligning if we just continue to do our part. So we'll come back and, the ones that are going, we'll come back and report how that went. So, Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank everybody again for their work tonight. And actually, I wanted to give a shout out to Councilmember Hodges. I think it was your idea to have an opportunity for community engagement, how we could have 4th District residents be able to show up and share their opinions. And I thought that was really nice that we were able to build in that public comment section. So I look forward to discussing in Rules Committee, making this kind of maybe our standard process going forward. I think it went really smoothly, and I appreciate everybody. We give them the tools. Well, they last time they didn't establish an actual ordinance of what it should be going forward, so we just had to look at the procedure. So anyway, I appreciated that, and hopefully we'll have a good discussion about codifying that. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff roundtable.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to show off our large diamond that the city was recognized at the Chamber's Gala for 60 years of support to the Chamber of Commerce since 1964. So great recognition for the city and the partnership with our community partners. Very nice event. So we'll find a place to proudly display that here at City Hall. So the snow fight that we are about ready to begin, we've already started with pre-treating streets. Latest weather forecast 4 to 8 inches for our area starting after midnight tonight, going well into Wednesday evening tomorrow. Of course, the cold temperatures, they're showing a light glaze of ice, but that's really showing further south of us. But seems like every storm that we've had come through this year, we're right on the edge and it can go any which direction, and then we have to pivot. So prepared for that as well. Our crews are ready to fight again, and we'll continue to fight until we get dug out again, so we're prepared for that. With regard to facilities, we plan to be open. We will maintain minimum staffing levels. Where we're at with that is if employees do not feel comfortable driving, they can choose to take some leave off for that. But we're working amongst the departments to make sure that we've got minimum staffing, and we will provide assistance for employees to get to work to make sure that facilities are open and we can still support the services that we provide to this community outside of public safety. So all business functions are planned to be supported tomorrow. And then lastly, it's Assistant City Manager Weber mentioned this last week, but it's Take Time to Be Kind Week. And so we have a little display out front. And so, yeah, be kind to your neighbors, friends, loved ones, and everyone else, and it'll be a great week. So that's it, Mayor. That's all I have for tonight.
Hey, Mr. Dunning, back on the snow fight, if you have an extra snow plow, we picked up an extra person to drive tonight. Yeah, we got a new, we got somebody on the payroll now that we can also put him to work.
We do have a fast pass training program that we can expose.
Yeah, we need to get him signed up tomorrow, get him sworn in.
Get him on the payroll so we can put him to work.
Yes, Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. I already shut down my computer, but I just wanted to say, Councilmember Funk, that sounds good. You've been waiting a long time, so congratulations.
Thank you very
much. We do that all the time.
That's my call. You're already trying to be the mayor. I make those calls. No, that's my call.
Watch all the meetings, and I really don't know how that's done. That's called contingent swearing in.
And I have to go after she does. It's like.
We just hand them all to her, it's fine.
Okay, city staff, stay safe tomorrow, and this meeting is adjourned at 9:24.